That banner, who knows what power it holds, fell before it even had a chance to show its might, and Xiang Beifei didn't even get a chance to explore it. Normally, everything sealed in the Spirit Gathering book is quite useful, like learn by analogy, helping him quickly understand this world, return to the original state allowing him to get his abilities back to near invincibility, and yin and yang source energy enabling him to roam freely. This banner doesn't seem like a fragment of an ancestral artifact, but perhaps it holds some power. Initially, he hoped it would be of more use, but unfortunately he was too careless. Xiaohe reopened the Spirit Gathering book, looking at the banner in the Zhang constellation, weak and feeble. At this moment, the banner no longer carried the arrogant presence it had before. The pole was broken into 2 pieces, and the flag was limp, trembling slightly. What exactly is this thing's ability? Xiaohe muttered. The explanation on the Spirit Gathering book's Zhang constellation for this item was only 2 words. Slaughter banner. The killing aura is so heavy. Could it be used for killing? Era speculated. Then it's pathetically weak. Like a paper tiger, Xiaohe said disdainfully. Xiang Beifei closely examined the slaughter banner. A flag hung on a red pole, the flag being rectangular, black on both sides, exuding a fierce killing aura. I wonder if it still behaves arrogantly. Era provocatively reached out and poked at the banner. But just then, the banner suddenly changed color. The black killing aura vanished, turning into a lazy green, appearing vibrant yet with a hint of laziness, even silly. Huh? How did it change color? Era, astonished, grabbed the green banner and shook it a couple of times. Perhaps because it was broken, it wasn't as arrogant this time. No, the other side still looks murderous, Era remarked. This banner was black on one side, green on the other, with different atmospheres on each side. Let me see, let me see. Xiaohe took the banner, and then the banner changed once again, becoming white, pure, and immaculate. The front side of the flag looked very spiritual, giving off a playful vibe. But the other side, still black and filled with killing intent. It turned white, Xiaohe exclaimed in surprise, shaking the banner. Let's see what color I am? Yumong, curious as well, moved in and snatched the banner. In his hands, one side turned cyan, a very tender color, looking like freshly sprouted leaves. Era grabbed the flag again and shook it a couple of times, but apart from changing colors, it had no special reaction. Xiaohe even held the banner together with Era, making the flag green on one side, white on the other. Let me try. Xiang Beifei reached out for the banner, and then suddenly, it changed color again. This time, both sides turned black. The black side appeared very eerie, like staring into a dark abyss that might pull someone in at any moment. The killing aura was also quite intense, giving Xiang Beifei an illusion that this black flag was like the entrance to a killing ground. Huh, Feifei, why are you black? It seems so murderous, Xiaohe asked in confusion. But just as the words left his mouth, the banner changed color again, both sides turning white. It looked much more gentle, as if shrouded in a layer of white mist, giving the impression that something was about to emerge from within. This kind of white was different from Xiaohe's spiritual and quirky white, more like a mellow and solid white. He reached out and touched the surface of the flag, feeling a warm current from the white side, while the black side earlier was full of coldness. Wow! It reacts differently for each of us. Does it have different reactions for different people? Xiaohe wondered. So what's its purpose? Just to look nice. Xiang Beifei carefully perceived the banner, staring at the killing aura-filled side, and then suddenly became surprised. Because in that dark abyss, he vaguely saw many strange shadows, these shadows slowly swirling, then becoming some familiar silhouettes. Ah, isn't that Shang Tianxiong? Xiaohe exclaimed. Wasn't he turned into candy? When did he get trapped in this banner? Era asked puzzled. Xiang Beifei's spiritual power probed into the black abyss of the slaughter banner, gradually understanding something. This slaughter banner is very strange. I think it records every slaughter it has caused. If I killed someone, I would be able to rely on this banner to possess some of their abilities, Xiang Beifei said. That's so sinister? Yumong widened his eyes. Then, this is an evil cultivation treasure. Continuously killing people to grow stronger from it, isn't it? Xiaohe frowned. Perhaps, Xiang Beifei replied. The slaughter banner has two sides. Each person holding it has a side of killing and a side representing themselves. Just like Era's lazy green, Yumong's tender cyan, Xiaohe's playful white. But regardless of the color, there was always a killing side to them. There must be some sort of downside, right? Xiaohe asked. I think causing too much slaughter might turn both sides black, which could affect a person. It's hard to say. Xiang Beifei pondered. Then we better not use it, Yumong muttered. Xiang Beifei didn't immediately respond, realizing that he had killed quite a few Dao Palace people, wondering if he could use the abilities of the slaughter banner to wield their powers. However, he currently had no way to continue experimenting, as the slaughter banner was being suppressed by the heavenly Dao's forces here in the Great Desolate Realm, so any further attempts would have to be in the Edge Corner airspace. Should we now proceed to unseal the Wing Constellation and Chun Constellation? Era asked. The Wing Constellation requires 23 spiritual power crystals of the Ancestral Dao's initial stage, and the Chun Constellation needs 5 from its later stage. Both are seals of the Ancestral Dao stage. They should be able to resist Heavenly Dao's power. Xiaohe questioned. Let's wait until we reach the Edge Corner airspace before unsealing them. No need to rush. Xiang Beifei replied. Ultimately, they decided not to attempt unsealing, lest the Heavenly Dao power of the Great Desolate Realm sanctions the two constellations again. Although the Zhuzhou traders have been dealt with, the Dao Palace will surely return. They intend to exterminate the human race. Now that they know the location of humanity, they might send people to search for fragments of the human Dao's ancestral artifact. Currently, the security of Zhuzhou needs to be elevated. In the next few days, Xiang Beifei began contemplating how to resolve the system issues. The systems of everyone in Zhuzhou rely on the Great Cauldron in Common Valley for activation. All human system items are tainted with the Dao Palace's power, marking the first step of the Dao Palace's control over human systems. They've been attempting to utilize this ancestral artifact, the Great Cauldron, to kill all humans in Zhuzhou, thus achieving some unspeakable goal. But clearly, this attempt hasn't fully succeeded. The urgent task is to detach this power from the human systems. Xiaohe asked, can we reshape everyone's systems the way we reshaped Luo Yunxian's leisure system? Xiang Beifei shook his head and said, it's too difficult. Zhuzhou currently has 1.6 billion people. Reshaping all systems would take a long time, and it doesn't address the root of the problem. When Xiang Beifei redesigned Elder Luo's system, it took him 5 minutes, and that was with his thorough familiarity with Elder Luo. Even if Xiang Beifei could later speed up the process to 1 minute per system, reshaping 1 billion systems would require 1 billion minutes, which is roughly 190 years. For 1.6 billion, it would take over 1,000 years. Importantly, there's the consideration of those who haven't awakened their systems yet. Every year, around several million awaken their systems. Since Zhuzhou humans are bound to the Great Cauldron ancestral artifact, they too would need system reshaping, increasing the workload, which is simply unmanageable. To change the situation, relying solely on him to reshape systems is unrealistic. Although this method is impracticable, at least I can start by reshaping some people's systems first. Xiang Beifei decided to first reshape the systems of some people in Zhuzhou. Reshaping the systems would ensure these individual systems can break through to the immortal realm, unleashing the power of the immortal realm without being harmed by the heavenly Dao laws of the Great Desolate Realm, further enhancing their strength. The best candidates, naturally, are those masters who've reached the heavenly connection stage. For instance, Professor Gua, Sun Heshuan, Yin Yanqing, and others. This way, if the Dao Palace sends those puppets again, Zhuzhou won't become as passive as this time. They can wield immortal realm power to defend Zhuzhou without dying themselves. And as for the Dao Palace members, when they deploy immortal power, they are certain to perish. This is Zhuzhou's advantage. Secondly, Xiang Beifei needs to teach Zhuzhou's people how to use the mustard seed in palm. Now that it can nurture, this divine object originally belonged to the human race, possessing exceptionally special resistance, making it quite effective in defense. Of course, The mustard seed in palm requires personal cultivation, which isn't an easy task. Cultivating it is very slow, but nonetheless, everyone must explore it themselves. In recent days, Juzhou's defense line has returned to tranquility. The areas attacked by desolate beasts at the Heavenly Connection stage have been resolved, but Elder Luo and the others have not slackened, constantly reinforcing the defense, under Xiang Beifei's guidance, strengthening power consolidation. After deciding to reshape some people's systems, Xiang Beifei focused on reshaping Chang Furong's system. This elder awakened to the SSR-level evil accumulating system but refused to comply with the system's quests to commit evil. He has always remembered him. Thus, he first sought Chang Furong, who is now at the orifice-transforming initial stage of cultivation. Before Helian Zheng's return last time, Xiang Beifei had specifically advised him, tailoring a cultivation technique for him. The system level is actually linked with human talent. Those who awaken SSR-level systems naturally don't lack in talent. After receiving a cultivation technique truly suited to him, Chang Furong quickly progressed from meridian opening to orifice-transforming initial stage over a few short years. He's different from Lu Jiwei and Li Zimu. Although they've all received Xiang Beifei's guidance, Xiang Beifei transformed the cultivation path for others via the system, while Chang Furong relied solely on self-cultivation, unable to outpace the speed of S-level Lu Jiwei and SR-level Li Zimu. When Xiang Beifei found Chang Furong, he was assisting city guards in intensifying patrols, precisely at Luha High School, where a fight had taken place due to Su Qiyuan's assault, with many residential buildings damaged and the town undergoing reconstruction. Young Master Xiang. Chang Furong was extremely excited to see Xiang Beifei. Xiang Beifei nodded slightly and inquired, "How's the situation here?" "Everything is under control. The battle destroyed many buildings. They are repairing and rebuilding, but it's a pity I lack capability. Unable to help, just here on patrol to lend a hand." Chang Furong glanced at his system and said with a bitter smile, "Besides bestowing combat prowess, the system has quite special abilities. Some systems can be used for restoration and rescue, but without reliance on the system, Chang Furong can't contribute much." Xiang Beifei asked, "Old Chang, if given the chance to choose anew, what type of system would you want?" Chang Furong hesitated and gave a wry smile. "I don't wish for any system. Just hoping not to awaken this one next life would be enough. The evil accumulating system has always been my nightmare. It's hopeless to be free from it this life." He has resigned himself. Now relying on Xiang Beifei's cultivation technique is his greatest solace. Speaking hypothetically, if you could choose, what system would you hope to awaken? Chang Furong earnestly replied, "Uphold justice and vanquish evil. I see this world's evil clearly, and if possible, I'd want to change it." He's lived half a lifetime, with the evil accumulating system constantly prompting him with tasks encouraging misdeeds for power gain. His daily quests mostly urge him towards wickedness. Indeed, few in Juzhou know evil more deeply than he. He detests these evil acts, always wishing to change them. Yet often, his efforts are hindered by his limited strength, relying on Xiang Beifei over the years to gradually gain power, starting to defy the system. When the system urges evil deeds, he preempts and halts them early. "Uphold justice and vanquish evil, huh?" Xiang Beifei nodded slightly. Understanding evil fuels the motivation to eradicate it. He greatly admires this elder, although he awakened to an evil accumulating system that could propel him to great heights. He's persisted in his principle of avoiding malfeasance. To such individuals, Xiang Beifei naturally seeks to fulfill their desires. His mastery over yin and yang source energy has been perfected to an exquisite level. Accomplishing this is no challenge. In an instant, yin and yang source energy enveloped Chang Furong's system, rapidly transforming it from tasks to abilities, producing qualitative changes. Bearer of Tao, Chang Furong. Tao level, system of upholding justice and vanquishing evil. Realm, initial stage of orifice transforming. System overview. Just engaging in actions of upholding justice and eradicating evil strengthens you. What's going on? Chang Furong looked at his system interface incredulously, suspecting a misread. but the interface before his eyes had indisputably transformed. It's no longer the evil accumulating system. I'm now able to control systems. I assured you before, I'd find a solution. Xiang Beifei nodded with a smile. Initially, he envisioned liberating people from system constraints, truly achieving unrestrained autonomy. Yet the systems ensure human survival in the great desolate realm, hence eliminating them here would be inappropriate. After confirming his system several times, Chang Furong was moved to tears. Thank you, young Master Xiang. Chang Furong bowed deeply. No need. Xiang Beifei shook his head slightly. I should be thanking you on behalf of others. An SSR-level awakener like Chang Furong, had he chosen, could easily ascend as Jiuzhou's leader, occupying a high position, perpetuating evil to strengthen himself. But he didn't pursue this path, indirectly sparing many from harm. This alone earns Xiang Beifei's respect. At this critical juncture, Jiuzhou needs people like Chang Furong. After remodeling Chang Furong's system, Xiang Beifei planned to remodel the systems of others too. He needed to spend some time selecting people who could truly help protect Jiuzhou and give them more powerful abilities. At this moment, he saw a familiar face, Kong Xiuwen. Kong Xiuwen was wearing a hat, moving through the streets, helping everyone rebuild their homes. When Xiang Beifei saw Kong Xiuwen, he was quite surprised. He hadn't seen Kong Xiuwen for a long time. The last time Helian Zhang came back, he had specifically taken care of Kong Xiuwen. Now, Kong Xiuwen's strength had reached the mid-stage of orifice transforming, making him look very seasoned and steady. Kong Xiuwen, over here. Xiang Beifei waved at Kong Xiuwen. Kong Xiuwen had just used his precarious ability to prop up a wall. Hearing Xiang Beifei's voice, he frowned, turned his head, and followed the sound. Suddenly seeing Xiang Beifei, his eyes lit up, and he immediately rushed over. Xiang Beifei, it's really you. Kong Xiuwen excitedly sized up Xiang Beifei, then clapped Xiang Beifei on the shoulder. It's been 10 years. Where did you go? You had me worried sick. Mid-stage of orifice transforming. You seem to have improved a lot. Xiang Beifei said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Kong Xiuwen suddenly sighed, took off his hat, pointed at his head, and said, Can you see this? His head was bald. Not a single hair. Like a white-skinned goose egg that even reflected light. I've gone bald, but I've also grown stronger. Kong Xiuwen touched his own head, his tone inexplicably heavy. He had awakened the S-level bald system. The less hair he had, the stronger he became. You don't seem very happy? Xiang Beifei held back his laughter. I miss the days when I could flick my hair. Kong Xiuwen touched his head again and shook it. The bald head was smooth and without hair. There was even less wind resistance. His face was full of melancholy. From having a full head of thick hair to not having a single strand now, over these 10 years, he seemed to have experienced many vicissitudes. Era next to him asked in confusion. Strange, the bald system is supposed to be stronger with less hair, but he has no hair now. Shouldn't he be invincible? Why is he still just at the mid-stage of orifice transforming? Silly, his system in the later stage, it's not just losing hair on the head that makes him stronger, losing body hair elsewhere does too. Xiaohe said. Era asked in confusion. Huh? Besides hair on the head, is there any other hair to lose? Come here, I'll tell you secretly. Xiaohe beckoned Era over. Kong Xiuwen, nearby, glared darkly at these two kids. How could these two know about his situation? Who are they? Kong Xiuwen asked with a strange expression. We are the Hang and Ha generals. Xiaohe declared proudly with hands on hips. I'm Hang. I'm Ha. Yumong enthusiastically poked his head out of the pocket and shouted loudly. What about me? What about me? Era asked. Your heir. Fei Fei is the general. Xiaohe said without hesitation. That's right. The four of us are the Hang and Ha generals. Yumong stood on Xiang Beifei's shoulder very smug. Xiang Beifei rubbed his forehead with a headache. These three little ones were really a handful. He just realized that the Hang and Ha generals were actually 4 people. Kong Xiaowen widened his eyes, completely flabbergasted. Ignore them. Xiang Beifei laughed, but he still remodeled Kong Xiaowen's system, upgrading it from S level to Dao level. Beifei. While Xiang Beifei and Kong Xiaowen were talking, a figure dashed over energetically, stopping right in front of Xiang Beifei, almost bumping into him. It was Lu Jiwei. Lu Jiwei's nose was almost touching Xiang Beifei's nose, her eyes wide open. Long time no see. Xiang Beifei smiled slightly. 10 years. You bastard. You disappeared without a word. I thought you were dead. Lu Jiwei raised her fist to punch him, but she held back, visibly annoyed. I went looking for my parents. Xiang Beifei said. Did you find them? Lu Jiwei asked. Xiang Beifei shook his head. Kong Xiaowen and Lu Jiwei exchanged a glance, a bit worried, thinking about how to comfort Xiang Beifei. Xiaohe hugged Xiang Beifei's leg beside him, grinning. Don't worry, we've met a lot of people, but it's fine, we're quite strong. We've never been at a disadvantage. Lu Jiwei looked at Xiaohe in confusion. Xiaohe currently looked like a 3-year-old child, appearing innocent, lively, fair, and tender with spiritual energy. But Lu Jiwei didn't recognize him. Who are you? She asked confusedly. Oh, I'm... Before Xiaohe could finish, Lu Jiwei suddenly lifted her head in shock, looking at Xiaohe then at Xiang Beifei. Her expression appeared pained. Beifei, this child wouldn't be... You have a son already. Ha! Xiang Beifei was momentarily speechless. 10 years no see, and you have a kid already. Lu Jiwei bit her lip, her whole demeanor dropping. Really? Good boy. I always wondered whose brat this was. Turned out he's your kid. Standing on his own. Where's the kid's mom? Kong Xiaowen carelessly turned his head, not noticing Lu Jiwei's low spirits as he looked around, seemingly trying to spot the kid's mom nearby. Xiang Beifei was caught between laughter and tears. What was all this about? You've got a kid now, congratulations. The little one is very cute. Lu Jiwei forced a smile, seemingly trying hard to hide her disappointment, and said to Xiaohe, Hello, little friend. I am your Auntie Lu, a good friend of your father. Xiaohe's eyes rolled mischievously, and he grinned. Hello, Auntie Lu. Oh, hello, my foot. Xiang Beifei tapped Xiaohe's head in annoyance and explained, It's a misunderstanding. He's not my son. Dad, how can you deny me as your son just to flirt? Dad, do you find me a burden? Dad, I'm running away from home. Dad, am I not your most cherished one? Why are you not speaking? Xiaohe shouted loudly. Damn it! Xiang Beifei lifted his leg, ready to kick Xiaohe away. But Xiaohe clung to Xiang Beifei's leg like a sticky plaster, refusing to let go. Xiang Beifei was completely defeated. Lu Jiwei looked at Xiang Beifei and said, You have a child. Why don't you dare to admit it? The child is innocent. The child is innocent? Xiang Beifei was almost fuming with anger. He tried hard, took quite some effort to explain for a long time, and finally clarified that Xiaohe was not his son. He's really not your son? Lu Jiwei asked suspiciously. No, I just found him, Xiang Beifei said, roughly rubbing Xiaohe's head. Xiaohe laughed on the side, seemingly wishing for chaos. Lu Jiwei's mood visibly improved, and she asked, That's good. By the way, what are you back for this time? To help Jojo strengthen its defenses and enhance everyone's power, Xiang Beifei said. Commander Luo was telling the truth last time? He said Jojo was able to repel the beast tide. Thanks to you? Kong Xiaowen asked. He said that. Yeah, you truly are Jojo's hope, Lu Jiwei said excitedly. Apparently, because she found out Xiang Beifei was still single, her mood improved significantly, and she spoke with enthusiasm. Forget it, let's not worry about those now. I need to help you solve some issues. Xiang Beifei glanced at Lu Jiwei and Kong Xiaowen's system, as that was his business. Kong Xiaowen and Lu Jiwei quickly left, and the street repair work continued. Xiang Beifei did not intervene but watched those busy martial artists, using the system to determine who needed the system overhaul. This area was full of various martial artists and literary Dao practitioners engaging in construction repair. For those who genuinely wanted to protect Juzhou, the passionate martial artists and visionary literary Dao practitioners, even if the other system is just R-level, Xiang Beifei would remodel them. Xiang Beifei did not have much time. He will remodel as many as he can. He took a turn and then headed towards the Juzhou border. The martial artists at the border were the ones who most needed the system overhaul. Next, Xiang Beifei was naturally going to find Professor Guo and the others. Professor Guo was busy on the city wall. The wall destroyed by desolate beasts had been repaired, but the wall formation hadn't fully recovered yet, and he was helping to reinforce it. When Xiang Beifei approached, Professor Guo was seriously discussing the manpower allocation of the city wall formation with another martial artist dressed in a guardian's uniform. Professor Guo, Xiang Beifei politely greeted. Beifei, is it you? Professor Guo looked up and saw Xiang Beifei, showing a smile on his fatigued face. He looked like he hadn't rested for many days, but upon seeing Xiang Beifei, the tiredness vanished. Old Luo said you came back and repelled those people. Heard you've been busy with something important. Thought about whether to come see you. Finished, Professor Guo said with relief. Pretty much. Xiang Beifei nodded with a smile. Greetings, Lord Xiang. The martial artist conversing with Professor Guo immediately bowed. This martial artist wore the Guardian's exclusive hat. Xiang Beifei glanced at him. This was an elderly man who looked familiar, but Xiang Beifei didn't recognize him at the moment and turned his gaze to the system interface. Principal Li? Xiang Beifei said in surprise. Principal Li Nanxing from Luhe High School. Yes. I didn't expect Lord Xiang to remember me. Li Nanxing smiled. Principal, don't be so formal. Just call me Beifei. Xiang Beifei said helplessly. I'm just a little guard leader now. I must observe proper etiquette. Li Nanxing smiled. You know each other? Professor Guo asked. Xiang Beifei said. He was my high school principal. Back when I was in high school, I have to thank him. Don't mention it. Don't mention it, truth be told. I should thank you. Li Nanxing quickly said. Thank me. Xiang Beifei was puzzled. Principal Li Nanxing was the first meridian opening cultivator Xiang Beifei encountered in high school. He had awakened with an S-level Confucian Saint system. He treated students very well and even specially cared for Xiang Beifei, exchanging some system items to encourage him. At that time, Xiang Beifei's strength was not very strong, and these system items helped him a lot. Back then, Li Nanxing spent his entire savings to exchange for a god-refining pill, which Xiaohe foolishly snatched, almost making the principal collapse. Later, Xiang Beifei naturally returned it because he knew Principal Li Nanxing's character. Seeing Principal Li Nanxing again, he was surprised to find his cultivation had reached the orifice-transforming stage. Strange. How did the S-level principal become so powerful? Xiaohe muttered. Last time, Xiang Beifei prepared spiritual power crystals and guided cultivation techniques for many people, letting Helian Zheng bring them back, but he forgot about Principal Li Nanxing. Unexpectedly, meeting him again, Principal Li Nanxing had become so powerful. Looking at Li Nanxing's system, Xiang Beifei quickly understood the reason. The Confucian Saint system relies on cultivating students to gain prestige. As long as the students you cultivate make a name for themselves, you also receive corresponding upgrades. Being a principal, Li Nanxing naturally hoped the students from his school would be more successful, so he's been diligently nurturing them. Among the many graduating classes from Luhe High School, the most successful one must be Xiang Beifei. Once Xiang Beifei was a famously talented 16 provinces genius, catching countless UR and SSR ranks and beating them. Such an N-rank student becoming a major talent of Juzhou was indeed renowned. Each time Xiang Beifei made a name for himself, it increased Principal Li Nanxing's prestige value, and the amount was terrifyingly high, much beyond ordinary. Luhe High School graduate Xiang Beifei became the second N-rank awakener to be accepted into Liangzhou University. Prestige value plus 2 million. Luhe High School graduate N-rank student Xiang Beifei defeated SSR rank awakener in the freshman contest, causing a sensation in Juzhou Prestige value plus 3 million. Luha High School graduate Xiang Beifei defeated the one-armed crab, becoming the hero saving the street. Admired by all. Prestige value plus 500,000. Luha High School graduate Xiang Beifei dared to challenge authority at Liangzhou University, publicly questioning the martial arts college Dean Wei Tong system. Prestige value plus 5 million. Including the last 2 days, Xiang Beifei's return and defeat of Wu Yiming and the invasion story were spread by Luo, causing a stir across Zhuzhou, directly adding 20 million prestige points to Principal Li Nanxing. Because of Xiang Beifei's existence, currently, the Confucian Saint system provided nearly 50 million system values to Principal Li Nanxing. Can be said, Principal Li Nanxing's Confucian Saint system entirely thrived on Xiang Beifei's prestige. Luha High School had also produced many famous students, but none had Xiang Beifei's level of achievements. Thus, even though Xiang Beifei forgot about Principal Li Nanxing last time, he inadvertently helped him. Because Xiang Beifei's achievements allow Principal Li Nanxing's Confucian system tasks to proceed unimpeded. Why is the principal here as a guard leader? Xiang Beifei asked. The rise and fall of Zhuzhou is every man's responsibility. Recently, when the beast tide attacked, I responded to the call using my residual energy. As a principal teaching and nurturing people, naturally I must lead by example. After coming here, I was just assigned under Commander Guo. Li Nanxing smiled. Professor Guo exclaimed, Old Li, you never told me you used to be the principal at Beifei's school? I'm here to participate in the Zhuzhou defense battle, not to pull strings. So what's the point in mentioning it? Principal Li Nanxing laughed. When the beast tide descends, many retired martial artists join the ranks again to stand on the border and fend off desolate beasts. Principal Li Nanxing is just one of them, doing his best. As for whether to mention that Xiang Beifei came from his high school, Principal Li Nanxing didn't think it was important, because he was here to fight the desolate beasts at the front line, not to seek special treatment through connections. Haha, that's true. Professor Guo nodded approvingly. What he dislikes are those who seek benefits through connections. Coming to the front line is about fighting, not seeking special treatment. If it's for special care, one might as well stay home and sleep. To Li Nanxing, Xiang Beifei naturally holds great respect. He is indeed a true role model of teaching and nurturing students. Even back in school, Xiang Beifei deeply respected him. Schools in Zhuzhou teach about desolate beasts from a young age. Any teacher who stands up at a critical moment deserves respect. Principal Li Nanxing's Confucian Saint system relies on him to grow stronger, which he was quite happy about. Then I won't disturb your reminiscing. I'll take my leave first. Li Nanxing said. Principal, wait a moment. We need you for this as well. Xiang Beifei said. Li Nanxing perked up and immediately said, What do you need me to do? Lord Xiang, feel free to instruct. Principal, please just call me by my name. I'm not accustomed to that title, and I'm no lord. Xiang Beifei said helplessly. Professor Guo said to Li Nanxing, All right, Old Li, don't be a stranger. This kid is easygoing by nature. There are no outsiders here, so no need to be formal. Li Nanxing chuckled heartily and nodded slightly. All right then. Xiang Beifei pondered for a moment, and then shared his plans with them. You can modify systems? Professor Guo said in surprise. Principal Li Nanxing was also astonished. Does that mean my system is? Yes. I can see the principal's Confucian Saint system, relying on nurturing students to gain prestige value. Xiang Beifei nodded. Li Nanxing exclaimed in shock. So you know as well that my system relies on you? Yes, 50 million. Ah, this is a bit. Li Nanxing chuckled awkwardly. In truth, he has always been very grateful to Xiang Beifei. It's all right, principal becoming stronger because of me is a good thing. After all, I haven't lost anything, so there's no psychological burden. Besides, I am still very grateful for the encouragement from the principal back then. Those fight to the death in the firmament 30 years east of the river and 30 years west. I remember them to this day. Back then, Principal Li Nanxing told Xiang Beifei many inspirational stories to lift his spirits. And this is the one Xiang Beifei remembers most clearly. Oh, I'm humbled, truly humbled. I actually didn't do much. It's your talent that counts, Beifei. Li Nanxing felt a bit embarrassed. His heart, which had been slightly lifted, finally settled down. Knowing the truth earlier had caused some apprehension, but he was simultaneously relieved for his past choices. Honestly, when he initially learned Xiang Beifei was just an N-level awakener, he didn't have high hopes for Xiang Beifei's future. After all, Xiang Beifei was merely an N-level awakener, and his past performance wasn't stellar either. Generally speaking, helping an S-level awakener is much better than helping an N-level student. At the time, he deliberately spent 5,000 prestige points to help Xiang Beifei and called him aside for encouragement, hoping Xiang Beifei would muster some spirit. Who would have thought that a casual act in the past would lead to his rise to fame, those few years when Xiang Beifei made a name for himself in Shukjuzhou? He also benefited from Xiang Beifei's prestige value and his cultivation sword. I'll first remodel your systems, make them stronger. Xiang Beifei waved his hand, and the source of yin and yang spread over. He was very familiar with both Professor Guo and Li Nanxing's systems. Li Nanxing was the first S-level system he had seen, and as for Professor Guo's rebel system, he was even more familiar, second only to the leisure system. Remodeling the systems of these two individuals wasn't difficult for Xiang Beifei. Incredible! Incredible! This is like the power of the Creator God, Professor Guo exclaimed repeatedly. He discovered that he had even broken through to the mid-stage of immortality. With this surge of power, the desolate beasts from days ago were no longer a serious problem. Li Nanxing's Confucian Saint system also received care, and Xiang Beifei even directly guided him on the specificity of his system, helping him clarify areas of cultivation he didn't previously understand. Li Nanxing felt suddenly enlightened. His cultivation advanced another substantial step, directly breaking through to the later stage of orifice transforming. This is too powerful. I really don't know how to thank you. Principal Li Nanxing excitedly looked at his system. He could vaguely sense that this Dao-level system was far beyond the existence of an UR-level system. Knowing that he used to be merely S-level, not particularly high, he once looked up to those SR-level, but now he has become a more powerful Dao-level, and his system's potential far exceeds UR. He feels that it won't take long before he can break through to the heavenly connection stage. Even that legendary immortality doesn't seem impossible. No need. As long as the principal doesn't forget the original intention. Xiang Beifei smiled. I understand. The duty of a teacher. I won't forget it. Li Nanxing nodded solemnly. He is just here temporarily as a guardian. Once the border is stable, he will return to school. Teaching without discrimination is a teacher's principle. No matter the student's talent, they should be treated equally. Xiang Beifei remembered something and said, "Oh right. I'm still the human king of the Edge Corner airspace. I wonder how much system value that adds for you." Human king? What does that mean? Li Nanxing was slightly stunned. It means the people over at Edge Corner airspace all regard me as king. They see me as the hope of the human race. Xiang Beifei shrugged. You can understand it as, Feifei is the supreme leader of humanity. Xiaohe interjected. Supreme leader? Li Nanxing was utterly shocked. The student, Xiang Beifei, from Luha High School you lead, has become the human king, prestige value plus 50 million. Ha, I knew it. Xiang Beifei expressed satisfaction with this prestige value. Li Nanxing took a sharp intake of breath. Is this another 50 million prestige value? He was completely dumbfounded. Why does prestige value seem to come as if it's free, acting recklessly? Is this prestige value real? Li Nanxing tried out his system value and found it could actually be realized. This isn't a dream, right? Li Nanxing muttered to himself. Don't worry, use it freely. Xiang Beifei laughed. Different systems assign different system values, and they can't be purely compared by system values. Each system's value determination has its own set of standards, such as 50 million prestige value, which might not be more real than 5 million leisure value. But no matter what, 50 million should be considered a lot for any system. As for Dao-level system rewards, they were all transformed from yin and yang source energy by Xiang Beifei, although some pills were obtained from other races at the Edge Corner airspace. What Xiang Beifei lacks the least are these treasures. So spend freely. In general, the current Xiang Beifei highlights a sense of invincibility. In fact, as long as Xiang Beifei is willing, he can directly give many system rewards to Professor Guo and Li Nanqing, but cultivation is not just about systems. It also depends on individual efforts. For instance, if their cultivation hasn't reached the immortality stage, giving them a spiritual power crystal of the immortality stage is useless. Some will reach it earlier, some will later. Distributing based on needs can also alleviate Xiang Beifei's burden. After all, whether it's spiritual power crystals or yin and yang source energy, it all has to come through Xiang Beifei. He still hopes everyone can reach their goals through effort. Professor Guo hesitated and said, "You helped us reshape the system. What do others plan to do? I don't have much time, but I'll try to help those who can protect Jojo reshape their systems." Xiang Beifei said, "What about Anshiyu?" "It's possible. I'll call her right away. She's in the command room over there." Professor Guo was delighted and immediately made a phone call. After the call, he lowered his voice and said, "Actually, she's been thinking of you." Xiaohe shouted, "Oh, really?" Xiang Beifei glared at Xiaohe. "When she comes, you can talk." Professor Guo showed a fatherly smile, and Shiyu quickly came over. When she saw Xiang Beifei, her eyes flickered with some emotion, seeming surprised and excited, but she quickly suppressed it. She is very good at controlling her emotions. "Long time no see." And Shiyu spoke. "Yes. How have you been these years?" Xiang Beifei looked at Anshiyu. Her power is already at the initial stage of heavenly connection. "I've been well. How about you?" "Not too smooth, but I got through it." Xiang Beifei laughed. Professor Guo and Li Nanqing exchanged glances, realizing they might be unnecessary. "We'll step aside, you two talk." Professor Guo quickly signaled Li Nanqing, and Li Nanqing immediately understood, preparing to leave. But Anshiyu said, "Professor, no need to avoid." "There's nothing to avoid." Professor Guo eagerly whispered, "Oh, silly girl. What are you thinking? Now that he's here, say what you want to say. Haven't you often asked me about Beifei's whereabouts all these years?" "Professor, I didn't mean that." And Shiyu said, "My silly girl. You can't go on like this. Don't hide everything." Professor Guo always cared a lot about Anshiyu. He treated her like his own daughter and hoped this girl could find her place. In his eyes, Xiang Beifei is reliable and amiable, with a good character and talent, an ideal partner. And Shiyu didn't respond. Her expression remained calm. Or, she tried hard to appear calm. Xiang Beifei found himself not knowing what to say either. The air was silent, and the atmosphere felt a bit awkward. Professor Guo was anxious but didn't know how to handle it. After all, he was an old bachelor himself and didn't understand young people's thoughts. Xiaohe's eyes rolled again, pulling Xiang Beifei's hand like a well-behaved child, and asked innocently, "Hey, are you all done talking? Then I'll speak. Isn't anyone curious about who I am?" Professor Guo focused his attention on Xiaohe. He had heard a bit about this cute little one from Luo, but didn't ask in detail, only knowing Xiang Beifei had two little sidekicks. "Little one, who are you?" asked Professor Guo. Xiaohe shook Xiang Beifei's arm excitedly and said, "I'm Xiang Xiaobai, and this is my dad." Xiang Beifei quickly covered Xiaohe's mouth, but Professor Guo already heard it. Surprised, "Beifei, what did he just call you?" "Oh, he said Balala the little magic fairy. Just ignore him, he watches too many cartoons. He's just a little sidekick I picked up." Xiang Beifei secretly sweated. "But his surname is also Xiang?" Professor Guo was suspicious. "When I found him in the trash can, he was nameless, so I gave him a name with my surname." Xiang Beifei flicked Xiaohe's ear. Xiaohe grinned and broke free, saying, "I just saw you all talking so slowly. It was driving me crazy, so I thought I'd lighten the mood." And Shiyu glanced at Xiaohe with a peculiar look. "I'm here for the system matter." Xiang Beifei briefly explained and then reshaped Shiyu's system too. And Shiyu looked surprised as she examined her reshaped system and looked at Xiang Beifei. To her, Xiang Beifei was a very special young man, with many mysteries, miracles, talent, and defiance. Any description wouldn't be too much for this young man. So when Xiang Beifei reshaped her system, she wasn't very surprised. This system will become stronger than the UR system, Xiang Beifei said. Thank you. And Xiyu said softly, no need, it's my duty, Xiang Beifei said. And Xiyu hesitated and asked, you're leaving Jojo again, aren't you? Yes. Xiang Beifei didn't hide it. When will you be back? Xiang Beifei hesitated, then slightly shook his head. I don't know. And Xiyu was silent, then said, I won't bother you. I have things to do too. She turned and left. Xiyu, wait. That kid. Professor Gua hurried to catch up with Xiyu, wanting to persuade her. But she walked away quickly, eager to leave. Xiang Beifei watched Xiyu's departing figure, feeling an inexplicable touch in his heart. Xiaohe stood by Xiang Beifei, hands crossed in front, also watching Xiyu's back, saying, you still haven't decided, have you? Xiang Beifei slightly shook his head. Then you're in trouble. You still have to face the third girl. Xiaohe raised his eyebrows. The third girl Xiaohe mentioned was Shi Kayao. She was naturally one of the people Xiang Beifei wanted to reconstruct the system for. Shi Kayao was very happy to see him. Her genuine excitement was unmistakable. Over the past 10 years, Shi Kayao had also broken through to the heavenly connection stage. Her martial arts talent had always been excellent, and during the years Xiang Beifei was absent, she diligently continued her training, striving to keep up with Xiang Beifei's pace. She enthusiastically shared many stories with Xiang Beifei, telling how she became a pioneer after graduating and took on an important role at the Jingzhou border, safeguarding Jingzhou's security alongside her father. Xiang Beifei listened quietly, without interrupting Shi Kayao. She was a very simple and shy girl in his presence. Ultimately, it was Shi Kayao who took the initiative to say she shouldn't disturb Xiang Beifei any further, before leaving happily. Xiang Beifei sat on the walls of Jingzhou, feeling very conflicted. Xiaohe asked, so many girls have ties with you, it's really peculiar. Yumong said, Feifei hasn't done anything to them, he hasn't even confessed. Then break the ice. Xiaohe rolled his eyes. I'm leaving Jojo, and can't guarantee I'll come back alive. Xiang Beifei shook his head. He felt like a wanderer, unrestrained, running freely across the vast sky because he had the strength, and this sky couldn't confine him. He never thought about settling down, nor could he. Whether it's Lu Jiwei, and Xiyu or Shi Kayao, they're all very good girls to Xiang Beifei. But none of them could travel restlessly like he did. One thing is clear in his mind. If he gives them a title, then leaves Juzhou, what would become of them in the future? He himself was once a left-behind child, understanding well what it's like to have your closest not by your side. Shang Tianqing's couple left their child behind and left irresponsibly, making the young boy wait lonely by the window for so many years. That boy is him, yet he's also not him. Constantly haunts him. If he dislikes Shang Tianqing's irresponsible behavior, how could he become another Shang Tianqing? Why not tell them you have someone you love? Xiaohe put his hands on his hips, pouted. You saw I called you dad just now, playing the cute kid role, giving you cover, but you don't appreciate it. Xiang Beifei. Xiaohe actually understands Xiang Beifei the best, knowing exactly what troubles him. He seems mischievous, stirring things up, but he's actually thinking of helping Xiang Beifei. All right, you're the smartest. Xiang Beifei picked up Xiaohe and ruffled his head. Why don't you choose one already? Quick decision, Xiaohe said. Era grumbled. Only a fool does multiple choice. If it were me, I'd want all three. Yumong stood on Xiang Beifei's shoulder and said, It's not 3, it's 4. There's also Sister Li. Oh right, then want all 4. Era snapped his fingers with bravado. Xiang Beifei, if I can eliminate Dao Palace, I'll settle back in Jojo. Xiang Beifei already explained to them he would leave Jojo again, uncertain when he would return, possibly never returning. Eliminating Dao Palace is not easy, but if he manages to return and they're still there, Then he'll clarify the situation. Half a year later, Xiang Beifei set out again towards the Edge Corner airspace. During this half year, he reconstructed over parts of Zhuzhou's population systems, especially the core talents of Zhuzhou, completely renewing them. He was now able to sense each person whose system was reconstructed, as if a connection was established between them. He could clearly sense how the other party's system strengthened, allowing him to immediately know if another danger like Elder Luo's encounter occurs. Besides, Xiang Beifei taught them all the mustard seed in palm. Mustard seed in palm was originally a divine object of the human race, which everyone could control, but it was sealed 10,000 years ago and almost vanished in this world. Now the seal was lifted. If the human race wishes to reuse it, they could activate this divine object. Combined with some formations, mustard seed in palm could be utilized to identify races other than humans. Xiang Beifei, now adept at employing mustard seed in palm, integrated the traits of Dao Palace and all races into it, making it perfectly identify all alien species. Having learned from Shang Tianxiong and Unrestrained's experiences, Xiang Beifei further strengthened the formation's identification capability, ensuring only those with affinity and control over mustard seed in palm can enter, rendering even Dao Sheath disguises ineffective. As mustard seed in palm is a divine object of the human race, no other race can manipulate it. Xiang Beifei ensures this. However, activating mustard seed in palm requires highly skilled practitioners. Hence, currently, only a small portion of high-level heavenly connection experts could achieve it, albeit slowly but better than none. From Zhuzhou to Edge Corner airspace, Xiang Beifei could travel in just one day by relying on Inquiry Dao Realm speed. When he reached Edge Corner airspace again, Xiang Beifei's aura instantly became fierce. Now, he was a master of the ancestral Dao realm. Feifei, what's our next step? Should we storm into Common Valley? Era eagerly asked, rubbing his hands. First, let's finish that task, Xiang Beifei said calmly. What task? Dao Stone. Xiang Beifei, when he was idle, created a few Dao Stones, initially for fun. But now he has decided to start with the Dao Stone. For 100,000 years, the human race has been hunted by the Dao Palace, forced to the brink of extinction. Over these millennia, the human race has lived like street rats, their situation dire. Every time they were hunted by the Dao Palace. But now, Xiang Beifei has decided to launch a proactive counterattack. By controlling the Edge Corner airspace, starting with the Dao Stone, he would sound the horn of retaliation. The Dao Stone is a very special item. The Dao embryo Xiang Beifei comprehended is the most primitive Yin-Yang Great Dao, capable of transforming into 3,000 variations, effective for the Dao embryo cultivation of all races, aiding many masters of various races to accelerate their training. Many masters from various races also took advantage of Xiang Beifei's Dao embryos, soaring in strength. But comprehending Xiang Beifei's Dao embryos comes at a cost. It's like the system of the Zhuzhou people back then. As long as they target Xiang Beifei as the system task, Xiang Beifei can perfectly grasp their system. Thus, comprehending Xiang Beifei's Dao embryos also means that Xiang Beifei can fully control these people's Dao embryos. Previously, without reaching the ancestral Dao realm, he couldn't control all the masters. But now it's different. Dao Stone is embedded by Xiang Beifei in the city of No Pretense. This city is very enigmatic. Even the Dao Palace masters dare not enter it casually. Needless to say, this city is also a very powerful ancestral artifact. Heaven, No, Dao, benevolence, prosperity. Currently, the city of No Pretense has these 5 Dao stones. Until now, they float chaotically in the void, not forming any word or sentence, leaving it to everyone's imagination. Every day, masters gather outside the city of No Pretense, comprehending Xiang Beifei's Dao stones. The intent of these 5 Dao stones is endless, allowing geniuses from many races to break through to higher realms, especially with Dao Palace's published heaven and earth ranking. Xiang Beifei single-handedly raised the overall power of all the masters on the ranking. Using the remaining cents, Xiang Beifei arrived at the city of No Pretense, where scores of people were still densely packed. Even after so long, the flow of people coming to comprehend the Dao at the city of No Pretense hasn't stopped. It makes sense. Initially, when the Tao stones were just released, the better positions outside the city of No Pretense for comprehending were occupied by powerful race masters. Weaker races could only comprehend the Tao from far away, sometimes even unable to squeeze in. But now those powerful races have nearly comprehended the 5 Tao stones, freeing up the positions for smaller races to come and take a share. As long as the city of No Pretense exists, people will never stop coming to comprehend the Tao. You have arrived. The sentimental voice of Kongqing appeared behind Xiang Beifei once again, standing on the city wall. "Hello, Uncle Melancholy," Xiaohe greeted with a laugh. "Hello, Xiaohe." Kongqing cast a melancholic smile at Xiaohe. He then turned his gaze back to Xiang Beifei, rather surprised. "You've broken through to the ancestral Tao realm?" "Yes. I thought it would take much longer," Kongqing said softly. "Just lucky." Xiang Beifei nodded politely and asked, "What's the situation here?" "Still so many people," Kongqing sighed, standing on the city wall. Looking around, there were dense crowds like ants. "Sorry, you probably don't like being surrounded by so many people," Xiang Beifei apologized. "No, I like having so many people," Kongqing said sadly. Xiang Beifei and Xiaohe exchanged looks, as Kongqing's expression was very desolate and didn't seem to match the word, like. "I can feel everyone's emotions, see their past sorrows, witness their departed kin, and observe all sorts of worldly affairs. It's quite fascinating," Kongqing said. "Uncle Sadness, can't you look at something more cheerful? Stay positive. Look at Era, cheerful and carefree every day. Focus more on the positive side of people," Xiaohe said. "You're right." Kongqing nodded, but his expression became even more wistful. Xiaohe rolled his eyes. "What's your plan for this visit?" Kongqing asked. "Of course, it's the Tao stone." A gleam flashed in Xiang Beifei's hand, and 2 Tao stones appeared in his palm. These 2 Tao stones are the words race and act. Heaven, Tao, no, benevolence, race, act, prosperity. Altogether, there were already 7 Tao stones. "Any reason for not releasing one?" Kongqing asked. "I will release it, but not now," Xiang Beifei said. Outside the city of No Pretense, masters from various races stood. Nowadays, if one seeks a place where masters converge in the edge corner airspace, coming to the city of No Pretense is the right choice. Here, you can see many never-before-seen geniuses and ancient monsters hidden for years, with all kinds of people present. Everyone tacitly claimed their little territory. Conflicts occasionally arose but quickly subsided because if they disturbed a big shot's Tao comprehension, they would directly strike to exterminate, restoring peace without any courtesy. In the location directly in front of the city of No Pretense, facing the Tao stone, is the best Tao comprehension spot, naturally equally divided by the strongest races. There is Chen Yinqiu from the Sound Tao race, once the top of the Earth ranking but ousted due to troubles. Long Zaiyan from the Dragon Tao race ranked 51st on the heavenly ranking, and even the once unseen ancient Azure Phoenix race and Golden Crow race. The Travel Tao race, Bird Tao race, Rock Clan, Divine Sense race. Those who could stand here are well known in the edge corner airspace. Everyone is comprehending the Tao embryos of the 5 words, Heaven, no Tao, benevolence, prosperity, each enriching when delved into separately, but feeling lacking when combined. Not complete, unable to progress further. These top race masters cannot decipher the 5 Tao stones, and closing the door to create alone is not a solution. So someone proposed holding a Tao discussion conference aimed at exchanging their understanding of the Tao stones for mutual progress. Of course, there isn't just one Tao discussion conference. Some races repel each other, so the requirements for the Tao discussion conference are diverse. The Earth-ranking Tao discussion conference requires at least an Earth-ranking genius to apply. The Beast Race Tao discussion conference only allows participation of races related to Beast Tao, such as Tiger Tao, Canine Tao, Pig Tao, etc. The Bird Race Tao discussion conference only allows masters from races like Sparrow Tao race, Swallow Tao race, etc., with wings to participate. But there is one Tao discussion conference with the strictest criteria. That is the Heavenly List Tao Discussion Conference. Only those on the heavenly ranking can participate in this conference. The Tao Discussion Conference is held irregularly, generally once every 2 months, and today is the exchange meeting for the Heavenly List Tao Discussion Conference. Drifting in midair is a floating isle constructed from breath soil, packed with various powerful formations, preventing anyone from peering inside. This is the Heavenly List Tao Discussion Isle, a temporary discussion site built collaboratively by various heavenly ranking races. At this time, the discussion isle hosts 32 interwoven powerful auras. These 32 auras belong to the heavenly ranking masters. Each is a notable figure with a renowned title in the Edge Corner airspace, whose words could stir the hearts of millions of Tao cultivators. The one presiding over the Tao discussion today is the heavenly maiden of the Azure Phoenix race, the Azure Phoenix Saintess. Ranked 15th on the heavenly ranking, achieved eternal life at 212 years old, inquiring Tao at 772, and now merely 1,292 years old, her cultivation already at the late stage of inquiring Tao. Every piece of information unmistakably screams, Genius Maiden. To be on the heavenly ranking, the cultivation must be within 3,000 years. In the Edge Corner airspace, in their understanding, 3,000 years is considered young. The Azure Phoenix Saintess, with otherworldly elegance and delicate beauty, her face like a celestial being, dressed in a light blue gauzy garment, ethereal and pure, exuding a hint of holiness. She stands gracefully in the void, with a slight smile, enchanting and stunning. Dear Tao friends gathered here, let's skip the idle talk. In today's Tao discussion, does anyone have deeper insight into the 5 words, Heavenly Prosperity Tao No Benevolence? Present were all masters of the heavenly ranking. Each had understood the meaning of every Tao stone in their own way, but when combined, they could not determine the greater meaning without exchanging and contemplating ideas with each other. The senior who left such Tao embryos should be a person of open mind, carefree and natural. Heaven and earth allow nature to take its course, doing nothing and creating nothing, letting all things govern themselves. Thus they are not benevolent. Benevolent people must create and transform, bestowing grace and action. Creation and transformation cause things to lose their essence. Bestowing grace and action cause things to not exist. So I think the true Tao intent left by that senior should be, Heaven and earth are not benevolent, all Tao flourish. A man with a cold and indifferent face spoke slowly. The man was not particularly handsome, but he had a very solid build, giving a feeling of great reliability. Genius of the Black Tortoise Tao, Gue Jishue, ranked 19th on the heavenly ranking, is said to possess extremely pure Black Tortoise bloodline. The Black Tortoise Tao, along with the Divine Dragon Tao and the Phoenix Tao, are considered powerful Tao embryos. Upon hearing Gue Jishue's understanding of the Tao, everyone turned slightly, considering that these words were quite profound, better combining the concept of heavenly non-benevolence, the Tao flourish. There seemed a certain rationale in his interpretation. I believe that to fully comprehend these 5 Tao stones, we first need to understand the quantity. It is clear that the Tao stones are not complete, yet there are 5 of them and the meaning is roughly expressed. Offering a different perspective was Long Zaiyin, genius of the Dragon Tao race, ranked 51st on the heavenly ranking. Long Zaiyin, genius of the Dragon Tao race, age 300 for immortality, 900 for inquiring Tao, and now under 1,000, already a master in the late stage of inquiring Tao, rumored to be most likely to shed the flood dragon form and revert to an ancestral dragon. The Divine Dragon Tao, the chief among a myriad of beasts, is, along with the Divine Phoenix Tao, a legendary ancient power. The Azure Phoenix Saintess glanced at Long Zaiyin and nodded slightly. Taoist Long speaks rightly. So what order do you believe these 5 characters might take? Or in what sentence do you think they are likely to form? Long Zaiyin said, in my view, these 5 characters should ideally combine into the sequence. Non-benevolence, heavenly Tao flourish, which is to say that the senior who created this Tao stone was likely enlightened regarding the principle of the flourishing heavenly Tao. For instance, all things are non-benevolent, heavenly Tao flourishes, interpreted from this angle is also conceivable. Everyone savored Long Zaiyin's words, lost in thought. Soon, however, someone else sneered, in my opinion, the appearance of the characters heaven and Tao does not necessarily refer to the heavenly Tao. perhaps they can be separated. For instance, Flood Dragon Dao non-benevolence does not exist. The world flourishes is also possible. The speaker was a genius of the Serpent Dao race, Shi Kuei, the 39th ranked master on the heavenly ranking, and the Serpent Dao race and Dragon Dao race are mortal enemies, each claiming to be closer to the Dragon Dao. The thing the Serpent Dao race despises most is that although the Dragon Dao race is clearly not dragons, they take on the dragon surname, which is utterly shameless. The two races frequently engage in open and secret struggles, continuously clashing over whose Dragon Dao bloodline is more pure. Are you courting death? Long Zaiyan hadn't spoken, but a younger man by his side with a more condensed aura opened his mouth. This man's reputation was even more illustrious. None other than Long Zaiyan's brother, Long Outyen. Long Outyen, with even more terrifying talent, ranking 11th on the heavenly ranking, speaks volumes. The brothers are the unrivaled duo of the Edge Corner airspace. The atmosphere grew murderous as the Azure Phoenix Saintess spoke in an ethereal voice. This is the Dao Discussion Conference. Everyone should pursue peaceful contemplation. If there's conflict, you may leave to resolve it yourself. Long Outyen and his brother coldly stared at Shi Kuei, eyes filled with killing intent, but did not take action, nor did they leave. The Dao Discussion Conference, despite discordant voices, often brought insights through exchange, much like Gue Jishui's earlier explanation, which indeed had some rationale. Subsequently, another person suggested that the 5 characters might come from a certain saying, such as heaven is not benevolent and does not unite with the earth, Dao differs not to collaborate, implying there might be another 7 Dao stones besides these 5. Everyone was exchanging different opinions, each person's perspective providing a deeper insight into the Dao stones. The most peculiar thing was, regardless of how everyone expanded on these 5 characters, it all seemed to make sense. Clearly only 5 characters, yet perfectly encapsulates so many meanings. The person who could pen such Dao embryos is truly a genius far beyond us. The crowd marveled collectively. But at this moment, the Dao Discussion Conference was interrupted as a middle-aged man approached the Azure Phoenix Saintess and spoke to her. The Azure Phoenix Saintess's beautiful countenance paused briefly, and she asked, "Is this true?" "Yes, absolutely true," the middle-aged man replied respectfully. "I understand. You may go," the Azure Phoenix Saintess said. The man left quickly, and everyone frowned, looking at the Azure Phoenix Saintess. Did something happen? Long Outyen lifted his head, asking coolly. The Azure Phoenix Saintess said, "Ladies and gentlemen, news has just arrived that outside the city of No Pretense, 2 more Dao stones have appeared." "What? 2 more Dao stones?" Everyone became excited. They had been pondering the meaning of Dao stones through various perspectives and holding diverse Dao discussion conferences, mainly because there hadn't been any new Dao stones appearing in nearly 3 years. No matter how thoroughly everyone searched the Edge Corner airspace, they couldn't find the 6th Dao stone, and without it, there was no way to comprehend the Dao, leaving many eager and impatient, hence the collective exchanges. Many people were speculating about the remaining characters on the 5 Dao stones, but couldn't agree. At last, they would be able to witness the subsequent Dao stones with their own eyes. Everyone rushed out quickly. Seeing the real Dao stones was much better than guessing aimlessly here. Outside the city of No Pretense, the noise was deafening. This time it's the characters. Wen and Clan. Where did these 2 Dao stones come from? Heavenly Dao Unkindness. Wen Clan. What does these 7 characters mean? How should they be combined? Could it be Heavenly Clan in power? No kindness, no prosperity? What kind of nonsense is that? Where is the Heavenly Clan coming from? Many people were excitedly discussing the 2 newly revealed Dao stones. As the 7 Dao stones floated up and down in the air chaotically, elusive and unpredictable, with no definitive intent. No one knew what words these Dao stones would ultimately form. But at this moment, someone suddenly exclaimed, "Look! The chaotic Dao stones are starting to form a sequence." Actually, there was no need for him to shout as everyone saw it. Since the moment the Dao stones appeared, the eyes of all cultivators present hadn't moved away from them. In the sky, The 7 Tao stones that were floating over the city of No Pretense gradually lined up in a row. Heavenly Tao unkindness. _ clan rises. In the middle, between the characters unkindness and clan, there remained a large gap, as if waiting for the last Tao stone to fill in. Heavenly Tao unkindness, clan rises? Could this be a prophecy? Which race does it refer to? Which race will rise? Many people began to discuss. Do you think it's possible that it's Heavenly Tao unkindness, beast race rises? A beast Tao race cultivator suggested. Ha! Look at yourself before talking about the beast race rising. I think it's definitely Heavenly Tao unkindness, bird race rises. Perhaps it means our bird race is about to rise. Another bird Tao race cultivator exclaimed excitedly. You're dreaming. The intent coming from these Tao stones clearly indicates that the sword race will rise. If you don't believe me, try reading it with the sword character inserted. A multitude of people began to argue. The most mysterious thing about the Tao stones is that their Tao intent can be comprehended by anyone, meaning that any race can sense the Tao relevant to their own cultivation from the Tao stones. Thus, when they interpret it based on their own understanding of the Tao intent, it seems like their race is the perfect fit. Humph, these fools, such a majestic and sacred Tao intent, dignified and noble. The end of the Tao intent is naturally the aura of my dragon clan. There's no need for thought. The missing characters must be Dragon Clan rises. Long Outyen of the Dragon Tao race sneered. Indeed. How could these short-sighted types? Shi Kuei of the Serpent Tao race unusually did not refute Long Outyen this time. Although the Serpent Tao race and Dragon Tao race never accepted each other, the apex of their heavenly Tao cultivation is the Dragon Tao. Thus, after comprehending the Tao stones, both simultaneously perceived that the missing character at the end was the dragon character. Heavenly Tao unkindness, Dragon Clan rises. This is how they interpreted the intent of the Tao stones. The cultivators of the Serpent Tao race and Dragon Tao race were very excited. At this moment, the conflicts between the dragons and snakes ceased, as they both belonged to branches of the Dragon Clan. The predecessor who wrote this prophecy was clearly a divine person of the Dragon Clan. This implies that the Dragon Clan will flourish in the future, standing dominant in the Edge Corner airspace. There's even a possibility the Dragon Clan might replace the Hutu tribe in ruling over the Edge Corner airspace. In this light, the Tao Palace already meant nothing in their eyes. Dragon Clan? Truly wishful thinking. The Azure Phoenix Saintess smiled indifferently from afar, because in her view, combining the previous Tao intent and comprehending it thoroughly, she could almost be 100% certain that the missing Tao stone was the Phoenix character. Heavenly Tao unkindness, Phoenix Clan rises. The Tao cultivated by the Azure Phoenix race is infinitely close to the ancestral Tao of the Divine Phoenix, but they have never been able to penetrate that barrier. As the Tao stones appeared, all the Azure Phoenix people believed that these Tao stones were left by the forebears of the Divine Phoenix race, naturally implying that the remaining characters were for the Phoenix Clan. Perhaps these Tao stones are the opportunity for our Phoenix Clan to rise. We have the capability to overthrow the rule of the Tao Palace and become the foremost clan in the Edge Corner airspace. The Azure Phoenix Saintess's mind had already begun painting a blueprint of the Phoenix Clan's supremacy. At the thought of her race becoming the premier power in the Edge Corner airspace, leading all clans and reigning supreme, her heart could not help but flutter. Ha ha! Ha ha! My clan will rise! My clan will rise! On the other side, Gue Jishui, the Turtle Tao race genius, couldn't help but laugh excitedly toward the sky. He merged his understanding of the Tao stones and directly deduced that the missing characters were Black Tortoise. Heavenly Tao unkindness, Xuanwu race rises. The more Gue Jishui thought about it, the more excited he became. His Black Tortoise bloodline had already awakened 7 or 8 parts. Although it was not yet 100% pure Black Tortoise bloodline, he knew that with these Tao stones, comprehending the Black Tortoise Tao was just a matter of time. By then, the Xuanwu race would surely restore the glory of ancient times and become the world's most formidable clan. Hutu tribe, huh? Just so. Gue Jishui was filled with courageous ambitions. already envisioning the future splendor of the Xuanwu race rising, crushing the Dao Palace, and achieving dominance in the Edge Corner airspace. The 7 Dao stones formed an ambiguous statement, driving countless people into a frenzy. Because the intent of the Dao stones perfectly matched everyone's Dao embryos. As if tailored for them, everyone was unwavering in their belief that their race represented the missing characters on the Dao stones. Heavenly Dao unkindness, side-walking tribe rises. Heavenly Dao unkindness, Qixia race rises. Heavenly Dao unkindness, Travel Dao race rises. Heavenly Dao unkindness, Flying insect race rises. All races were already passionate at heart. They all believed that the master of the Dao stones was left by their own ancestral forebears. And the reason for placing the Dao stones above the city of No Pretense was to prevent them from being forcibly taken by the Dao Palace. It's widely known that the city of No Pretense is a place the Dao Palace cannot reach, making it the safest place to protect the Dao stones. In this light, their ancestors who left the Dao stones were indeed wise and foresight. While the various races of Edge Corner airspace all complied with the Dao Palace's orders, following the rules they set, races like the Divine Phoenix race, Divine Dragon race, and Xuanwu race, all these powerful ancient races had ancestors who were once glorious. In the era of competing clans hundreds of thousands of years ago, their ancestors were never inferior to the Hutu tribe. Now they were temporarily in decline and controlled by the Hutu tribe. It did not mean they had no chance to rise. Many races verbally professed obedience to the Dao Palace founded by the Hutu tribe, but their hearts were utterly unconvinced, especially the races with naturally powerful bloodline Dao embryos. Their ancestors had also been glorious, dominating a region, so why should they obey the Hutu tribe? They just lacked power for the moment. Everyone was simply afraid to speak up. Now, the emergence of the Dao stones had ignited their passionate desire to revive their race, even those with very weak strength barely surviving in crevices, with the most skilled being of the eternal lifespan stage, like the blood-sucking mosquito Dao race, but seeing the 7 Dao stones, they too began to dream. Heavenly Dao unkindness, mosquito race rises. Dreams should be held onto, for what if they come true? For a time, all races began to stir internally. The Dao stones' intentions indicated that their cultivated Dao embryos were the mainstream, hence the future naturally belonged to their race. However, if they wanted to rejuvenate their race, what was the prerequisite? Everyone started seriously pondering this question. Subsequently, a thought simultaneously arose in the minds of cultivators from all races. Overthrow the Dao Palace ruled by the Hutu tribe. Are rulers born? Can they be unchangeable? Following the guidance of these 7 Dao stones, many race cultivators had already started to develop thoughts of resisting the Dao Palace. The news spread quickly, reaching the ears of all the races in Edge Corner airspace in just 2 days. Each race has its own way of exchanging information, and even though Edge Corner airspace is vast, wherever there are cultivators, information is never blocked. Upon hearing that 2 more Dao stones had appeared in the city of No Pretense, those cultivators who had already comprehended 5 Dao stones couldn't sit still and rushed to the city of No Pretense without hesitation. The young talents on the heaven and earth ranking, elders and predecessors who have remained hidden for many years, powerful figures of the past who rarely emerge, and famous eccentric experts, all came out in full force. The area outside the city of No Pretense was already crowded, surpassing even the grand scene of the previous heaven and earth ranking contest. And the idea of overthrowing the Dao Palace had already begun to take root in everyone's hearts. The more they comprehended the meaning on the Dao stones, the more intense their resistance to the Dao Palace became. They wished they could comprehend all the Dao stones immediately, achieve the ancestral Dao realm, promote their own race, lead their disciples to overthrow the Dao Palace's rule, seize control of the Hutu tribe, and become the new masters of Edge Corner airspace. But among the many races comprehending the Dao stones, only one race seemed entirely out of step. That is the Hutu tribe, the rulers of the Dao Palace. How could this happen? A thunderous voice rang out from the distant, vast void. This was Wu Shipo, an elder of the Dao Palace with early-stage ancestral Dao strength. The City of No Pretense is a mysterious city independent of the Dao Palace. They dare not enter it casually, so they cannot take away these Dao stones. But to determine the source of these Dao stones, the Dao Palace people have always kept a close watch on the movements within the City of No Pretense. Wu Shipo was responsible for constantly investigating the Dao stone incidents in the City of No Pretense, but despite guarding the city for so long, he still didn't know who placed the Dao stones on the city walls. While paying attention to these Dao stones, Wu Shipo naturally also comprehended their meaning. Not just him, he sent many Hutu tribe talents to comprehend the Dao. The meaning of the first 5 Dao stones was marvelous and greatly beneficial to them. They once thought that the Dao stones were left by a powerful figure from the Hutu tribe. But when Clan and when appeared, they realized something was wrong. The meaning of the 7 Dao stones together did not convey Hutu tribe's rise at all. In their understanding of the Dao stones, the missing Dao stone definitely did not represent the Hutu tribe, but another race. If not the Hutu tribe, which race could it be? Wu Shipo was furious. The Dao Palace is the absolute ruler of Edge Corner airspace, controlling everyone with iron means, and now a race dares to exceed their control. How can this be tolerated? People, come! Wu Shipo shouted coldly. Present. 2 yellow figures appeared behind Wu Shipo and responded respectfully. Go investigate clearly. Which race does the Dao stone refer to? Wu Shipo commanded. Yes. The 2 figures vanished swiftly like phantoms. Wu Shipo coldly scanned the multitude of races surrounding the City of No Pretense. His eyes filled with murderous intent. He couldn't determine exactly who this race was, nor could he be certain whether this race would rise. But if it dared to threaten the Hutu tribe's status, he would eradicate the whole race from root to stem, just like they dealt with the human race, exterminating all, leaving no survivors. Haha! This move is too clever. Now all the races believe that they are the ones destined by the Dao stones. Era laughed heartily. Xiang Beifei's Dao intent is very powerful and can indeed deepen any race's understanding of the Dao. However, once they comprehend his Dao intent, he only needs to guide slightly to induce subtle changes in these races' thoughts, planting a seed of rebellion against the Dao Palace in them. This seed will sprout and grow, increasingly resisting the Dao Palace's rule under the nurturing of the Dao stones. Once the time is right, Xiang Beifei can launch a counterattack against the Dao Palace. The strength of a single race is small, but when all races unite, they form a terrifying force. Yumong asked excitedly, so when are we going to reveal the correct answer? He was eager to know how everyone would react when the correct answer was announced. It would undoubtedly shock many people, especially the Dao Palace. Both Era and Yumong could hardly wait. Take it slow. There's no rush, Xiang Beifei said. This race doesn't need to be revealed so quickly. They must keep them in suspense. Xiang Beifei had another matter to attend to now. Constellations. He now only had 2 constellations left to fully unseal. Last time, because he unlocked the star seal in the Great Desolate Realm, the banner was punished by the heavenly Dao laws of the Great Desolate Realm. So he hadn't thought of directly unlocking the remaining 2 constellations, fearing another incident. Now in Edge Corner airspace, there aren't so many concerns. The Wing constellation requires 23 spiritual power crystals of the early ancestral Dao stage. The Chun constellation requires 5 spiritual power crystals of the late ancestral Dao stage. But after a quick count, Xiang Beifei realized he was still a bit short. Last time, he reversed the roles and hunted down several Dao Palace elders in the ancestral Dao realm in Common Valley, obtaining many spiritual power crystals, but it still wasn't enough. Currently, he has a total of 9 spiritual power crystals at the initial ancestral Dao stage and 4 at the mid-stage. 1 mid-stage ancestral Dao spiritual power crystal is equivalent to 4 initial stage ones. So there's basically no issue with the Wing constellation. The spiritual power crystals at the late ancestral Dao stage are a bit troublesome, as he only has 2, from Wu Xian who wanted to exterminate the human race of Zhozhou and Wu Yiming who disguised himself as Shang Tianxiong. Forget it. Let's unseal the Wing constellation first. Xiaohei took out the Spirit Gathering book. Wait. There are too many people in Kongcheng. Xiang Beifei said. He couldn't determine exactly what the ancestral artifact sealed within these constellations was, but his past experiences told him that sometimes what the constellations produced could be quite unruly. In the Great Desolate Realm, that killing banner tried to stab him and was educated by the heavenly Tao laws of the Great Desolate Realm. Although there was no need to worry about anything in the Edge Corner airspace, it's still Kongcheng, and any commotion could be hard to handle. After all, what's needed to seal these items is something at the ancestral Tao stage. Xiang Beifei spoke with Kongcheng and then quickly flew into the void. He needed to distance himself from this area because Tao Palace people were also near the city of No Pretense, and attracting them wasn't a smart idea without knowing what was sealed. He flew for over 10,000 miles before stopping, and then took out the Spirit Gathering Book and Spiritual Power Crystals, sending the power of the crystals to the seal. Buzz! A ray of light emanated from the Spirit Gathering Book. An ancient scroll appeared in the void. The scroll was very ordinary, even seemingly unremarkable. The yellowed paper looked as if it would tear at the slightest pull, appearing quite fragile. Xiang Beifei carefully opened the scroll, which looked like a painting, about a meter long, with nothing recorded on it, and the Spirit Gathering Book offered no explanation. "Is this an ancestral artifact?" Era asked curiously. "Hard to say, Feifei. Do you have any sense?" Xiaohei reached out to poke the blank scroll. If it were a damaged ancestral artifact, it would be hard to determine. Damaged ancestral artifacts usually only react when encountering other ancestral artifacts or their fragments. Especially those emerging from the Spirit Gathering Book, most are docile and indifferent, unlike Wufeng, who is very hostile. But if it's a complete ancestral artifact, it's different. Xiang Beifei pondered for a moment, attempting to inject his spiritual power into the scroll. At that moment, the scroll suddenly emitted strange lights, appearing as if countless lines of various colors flowed across the scroll's surface. The flowing lights soon stopped, converging on the display to form 6 white dots. "Oh, there's a reaction? Is it an ancestral artifact?" Era eagerly leaned in, looking at the 6 white dots on the scroll. Xiang Beifei nodded in amazement. "It is an ancestral artifact. He is now a master at the ancestral Tao stage, and he can clearly sense the special nature of this scroll. The scroll is not only an ancestral artifact but a complete one." "Really? Then what do these 6 dots represent?" Era poked the scroll with his tail, but the dots didn't move. Xiang Beifei used his spiritual power to carefully feel the 6 dots, as if he comprehended something, and said, "Heavenly Tao Map." "What? Heavenly Tao Map? These 6 dots represent 6 ancestral artifacts." "6 ancestral artifacts. Where are they?" Era asked sheepishly. Xiaohei propped his chin. "Silly. It should refer to the 6 ancestral artifacts around Feifei, right?" Yumong asked puzzledly. "But where did Feifei get 7 ancestral artifacts? I remember there are only 6, right? You divine steel, Wufeng, 5 pieces of stone, stone tower, even including the Litian spear and the scroll, that's 6, right? Aren't there some ancestral artifact fragments? Like harp strings, cauldron foot fragments, all sorts of things," Era said. Yumong counted on his fingers. "That adds up to more than 7 ancestral artifacts. Maybe the last constellation also has an ancestral artifact sealed inside?" Xiaohei stared at the Chun constellation. The seal needed for the Chun constellation is very strong, currently unable to be fully unsealed. This possibility seems likely. Xiang Beifei refocused on the Heavenly Tao Map. The Heavenly Tao Map can show the location of ancestral artifacts. He could feel the Heavenly Tao capability contained within the scroll. The Heavenly Tao laws sealed within the scroll were few, almost negligible, but this single law seemed remarkable, because it meant Xiang Beifei could use this scroll to search for the ancestral artifacts of Edge Corner airspace. "What's the use of that? We already know where the ancestral artifacts are," Era said. "Currently, many ancestral artifacts are either in the hands of Tao Palace's ancestral Tao realm cultivators, or in Common Valley. Common Valley is a former ancient battlefield, where many ancestral artifacts shattered and remained trapped. Unless they find their fragments, they cannot easily leave Common Valley. If they wanted to find ancestral artifacts, running to Common Valley would reveal them all. For 10,000 years under Dao Palace's rule, many clans in Edge Corner airspace lost their ancestral artifacts, mainly due to being too weak to protect them, allowing Dao Palace to snatch them away. Yumong said, maybe there are solitary ancestral artifacts as well. Edge Corner airspace is vast. Dao Palace can't explore every place completely. Era asked, Feifei, hurry and see if there's a hint of any other places with ancestral artifacts? But the scroll remained blank except for those few dots, lacking any map format and displayed no additional information. What is this? Completely useless, tasteless and hard to discard, Era complained. Indeed, it seems like a mere scrap. Xiang Beifei carefully explored this ancestral artifact. Ancestral artifacts sealed with heavenly Dao power don't acknowledge owners, only allowing use to those they approve. Strictly speaking, he's not the master of this heavenly Dao map, but at least it didn't reject him, so he needs to explore how to use it himself. Once he gradually figured out the distribution of the heavenly Dao map's power, he suddenly thought of something, took out the woofing broken sword, and gently poked it against the heavenly Dao map. Buzz! A gentle white stream of light rose from the heavenly Dao map and adhered to the woofing broken sword, which then emitted a clear tone, seeming to resonate with the heavenly Dao map. A golden light then flowed from woofing back to the heavenly Dao map, where a white overflowed with a thin golden thread, weaving its way to the other side of the scroll, disappearing beyond the edge. So that's how it works. Xiang Beifei's eyes lit up. What's the golden thread for? Era asked curiously. It's for finding Wufeng's fragments, Xiang Beifei said. But it didn't display anything else, Era said. Xiang Beifei followed the scroll's orientation and flew through the void for a while. Soon, he noticed the golden thread on the scroll shortening. After flying for about 2 hours, the scroll finally revealed another small white dot. This should be where Wufeng's fragment is, which is in Common Valley. Xiang Beifei pointed at the small white dot. The other half of Wufeng's sword is in Common Valley, closely guarded by Dao Palace experts. Xiang Beifei didn't have the ability to retrieve it last time, but checking the direction, Common Valley is indeed that way. What's the point of finding Wufeng's fragment? We already know where it is, Era grumbled. Xiaohe said, You fool! We know Wufeng's fragment location, but we don't know the locations of other ancestral artifact fragments. Oh! Era became interested. So, does this mean that as long as we rely on the ancestral artifact, we can find other ancestral artifact fragments? Ancestral relic fragments are incredibly difficult to find. Once they leave the complete ancestral relic, they become nothing more than ragged items, incapable of exerting any power, devoid of any special aura. They can be tossed under the feet of an expert in the ancestral Dao realm without garnering a second glance. Common Valley holds a pile of ancestral relics without fragments. They are restricted within Common Valley, and even the Dao Palace has no way to take them away. If ancestral relic fragments were easy to find, the Dao Palace would have collected the ancestral relics from Common Valley long ago. But with the power of the heavenly Dao map, Xiang Beifei seems capable of finding all these missing fragments. This world has countless heavenly Dao laws, all capable of restraining one another, boundless in power. All ancestral relics are sealed with their own heavenly Dao laws, mysterious and powerful. Naturally, there is also a heavenly Dao law for finding ancestral relics. Obviously, the heavenly Dao map is such an ancestral relic, and it is a critically important ancestral relic. If the heavenly Dao map fell into the hands of the Dao Palace, it's likely that all races' ancestral relics in Edge Corner airspace would already be under the control of the Dao Palace. In such a case, the human Dao relic fragments would also be included, and the human race would have been erased from Edge Corner airspace 100,000 years ago, leaving no place for Xiang Beifei. That's right. If we can use the ancestral relic body to find the fragments, can't we use the relic fragments to find the body in reverse? Xiaohe asked. I'm not sure, but we can try. Xiang Beifei has quite a few ancestral relic fragments on hand, like the missing fifth string of the five-string chain, two fragments of the Tripital Cauldron's legs that connect everyone in Juzhou, a bronze piece covered with carvings, and half a jade piece. Apart from knowing that the five-string chain and the Tripital Cauldron relics are in the Dao Palace, he is uncertain about the bronze piece and the half-jade. Xiang Beifei took out one of the cauldron legs, for the current position of the Heavenly Dao map can show Common Valley, which means Common Valley is within the range of the map's perception, and thus he can first test with the Tripital Cauldron. He lightly touched the cauldron leg to the scroll, and the scroll emitted a slight hum again. A golden light also transferred from the cauldron leg, indeed connecting to the same location as the Wufeng broken sword. The light points of Wufeng and the cauldron leg were not far apart, almost overlapping. It worked. Quick, try the bricks. Try the bricks, Xiaohe said excitedly. The bricks are their most handy treasure. Xiaohe's favorite pastime is to hold a brick and sneak up on others. The golden array markings on the brick are incredibly useful. Those who get hit know. Currently, they have collected 4 of the 5 pieces of stone, with one more piece missing in action. Now is an obviously opportune moment. If they can gather all 5 pieces of stone, their power would grow even greater. Xiang Beifei did not hesitate, immediately stacking the 4 bricks together and touching them to the Heavenly Dao map. Buzz! A golden light rapidly flowed out from the bricks, causing a ripple to emerge on the scroll before swiftly spreading off in another direction. This direction was not towards Common Valley, but in the opposite direction. Let's go look for it, Xiaohe said eagerly, unable to contain excitement. Xiang Beifei too was expectant, deeply connected with the 5 pieces of stone, or rather, his entire family was. Finding the 5 pieces of stone was indeed crucial. He immediately flew in the direction indicated by the Heavenly Dao map. Following the guidance of the Heavenly Dao map, Xiang Beifei flew ahead. Common Valley had already disappeared from the map, but the line connecting the bricks was still outside the scroll, not displayed on it. To ascertain the 5th brick's location, they flew for an entire day and night. Finally, the Heavenly Dao map revealed the position of the brick. This was not the speed of flight in the Great Desolate Realm, but the speed of the Ancestral Dao Realm in Edge Corner airspace. Given Xiang Beifei's speed at the Ancestral Dao Realm, flying for a whole day signifies an incomprehensible distance. Another half-day of flight later, the position of the 5th brick was finally almost aligning, making Xiaohe excitedly nearly cling to the Heavenly Dao map. But when Xiang Beifei stopped, he found he couldn't get any closer to the 5th piece, no matter how he proceeded. What's going on? Are we lost? Xiaohe asked in bewilderment. Keep going forward. The Heavenly Dao map shows it's right ahead, Era urged. They flew forward some distance, but at this moment, the map unexpectedly showed that the brick's location was behind them. Xiang Beifei found it curious and immediately retreated. However, after some distance, he was astounded to discover that the point of light once more went ahead. Xiang Beifei quickly realized something was amiss, cautiously watching the void ahead. Can't proceed. Something in this void is blocking me. To be precise, he had unknowingly crossed an invisible area, where even with his strong perception, he couldn't detect anything unusual. This region ahead appeared so ordinary, not seeming like a place with hidden spaces, just a perfectly normal void. If it weren't for his inability to approach the 5th piece, Xiang Beifei wouldn't have paid another thought to this void. But Xiang Beifei was no longer an inexperienced seeker. He understood what was happening quite swiftly. Heavenly Dao laws, Xiang Beifei said. What Heavenly Dao laws? Era asked. I'm not sure, maybe it's some kind of hidden Heavenly Dao laws. Only the Heavenly Dao can keep us from getting close no matter what. Xiang Beifei was quite certain about this. That's strange. This place in the Edge Corner airspace actually exists. Is it specially meant to hide the 5th slab? Yumong asked. Xiang Beifei didn't quite know either. The Edge Corner airspace is too vast, and it's impossible for him to be familiar with every place. There are still many areas in this world that he cannot reach. But if he couldn't get close, he would have no way to get his slab, which he couldn't tolerate. However, just then, he suddenly sensed something, turned his head, and waves rippled through the distant void, followed by a powerful aura sweeping over. It was an ancestral Dao realm expert. Xiang Beifei frowned but wasn't panicked, because he traveled the edge corner airspace relying on the concealment of Yin Yang's source energy, so he wasn't worried about being discovered. Light flashed in his eyes as he looked in the direction of the aura and saw a Dao embryo flashing by ahead. Dao Executor, Wu Shipo. Dao Embryo, Hutu Tribe, Realm, Early Ancestral Dao. Isn't this guy supposed to be guarding outside the city of No Pretense? Why did he come here? Xiaohei asked in confusion. Since the appearance of the city of No Pretense, there had been ancestral Dao realm experts monitoring outside the Dao Palace. Xiang Beifei discovered Wu Shipo's presence early on when 7 Dao stones appeared in the city of No Pretense 2 days ago. But he didn't mind this guy because his goal was to infuriate the Dao Palace. He didn't expect that this guy would actually head this way. Why did he come here? Xiang Beifei wondered. Wu Shipo didn't reveal himself. He transformed into a stream of light, silently shuttling through the void. Soon the space rippled, and he disappeared into a patch of the void. Huh? He's gone. Era looked around. Did he go far? How did he disappear? Yumong wondered. No, he hasn't gone far. His speed shouldn't be that fast. He has disappeared into this space. Xiang Beifei, also an ancestral Dao realm expert, would have known if the other party had outrun him with speed, but that wasn't the case here. Xiaohei asked, then how did he disappear? Xiang Beifei pondered for a moment and realized something, saying, I understand now. This should be Xizheng City. What kind of place is Xizheng City? Era asked. It's one of Dao Palace's strongholds, Xiang Beifei said. The Dao Palace's envoy, Gu Hengzi, had mentioned the 3 main cities of the Dao Palace: Xiyin City, Xiang City, Xizheng City. The 3 main cities are the centers of the Dao Palace, where all orders of the Dao Palace are issued. Among them, Xiyin and Xiang cities are visible cities, each guarded by a powerful ancestral artifact. The Lydian spear once guarded Xiyin City. Xiang Beifei had been to Xiyin City once and had caused quite a turmoil there, and he knew where Xiang City was but hadn't visited it. As for Xizheng City, this city is very mysterious. Not a single race in the edge corner airspace knows its location. Even Gu Hengzi isn't clear about its whereabouts. According to Gu Hengzi, only some special people can enter Xizheng City. This place is so peculiar. Now it seems it must be Xizheng City. Xiang Beifei stared into the void ahead. The location pointed by the heavenly Dao map pointed here, but he had repeatedly failed to pinpoint the direction. Now seeing the ancestral Dao realm expert Wu Shipo disappearing here, the reason was clear. So, the 5th slab is in the hands of the Dao Palace? Xiaohei frowned. The Dao Palace had too many ancestral artifacts, collecting them everywhere, and unexpectedly, the slab was one of them. Era cracked his knuckles and said, Let's sneak in and steal it back. We can't get in. Xiang Beifei had tried many times just now. Can't you disguise yourself? Era asked. It's obvious that some heavenly Dao law protects this place, making disguise difficult. Although Xiang Beifei was very powerful, confronting the heavenly Dao laws head-on was not feasible. Many ancestral artifacts impose heavenly Dao laws far more formidable than him. Much like the great desolate realm, he could not traverse freely. Xizheng City, as the stronghold of the Dao Palace, its guarding force is probably stronger than the heavenly Dao laws of the great desolate realm. Breaking in was impossible. Xiang Beifei knew he didn't have the capacity to face all the Dao Palace experts. Even his grandfather had been injured fighting 15 ancestral Dao realm experts at once, demonstrating just how powerful the Dao Palace truly was. Especially the leader of the Dao Palace, Hutu. Even now, Xiang Beifei didn't know what the person looked like, but he was very clear that this person would be very difficult to deal with. Damn it! Not being able to get the 5th slab back is too frustrating. Era cursed. Xiang Beifei looked at the void for a moment, then took out a bronze piece sealed by the Willow constellation, placing it on the heavenly Dao map. Buzz! The bronze piece emitted a golden stream of light, and then a white light spot appeared again on the scroll, connecting with the golden stream from the bronze piece. and the position of this light spot was surprisingly close to the position of the slab. Xiang Beifei tried the half-jade of the star constellation again, finding that the white light spot connected to the half-jade appeared in the same way. Could it be that the ancestral artifact body of this half-jade and the bronze piece are also in the Dao Palace's hands? Xiaohe asked. They're too sly, keeping so many ancestral artifacts in their hands, Era said. The Dao Palace has ruled the Edge Corner airspace for 10,000 years. Collecting so many ancestral artifacts is quite normal. Luckily, they don't have the Heavenly Dao map or otherwise, all ancestral artifacts under the sky would belong to them, Xiaohe said. Yumong asked, so what do we do now? They have our ancestral artifact fragments, and we have 3 of their ancestral artifact fragments. Do we trade? A trade. This was a feasible plan. Xiang Beifei had made such trades before. Last time in Xin City, he had traded with the fragment of the Lydian spear. Currently, they have the 5-string Qin bronze shard and half a jade, these 3 ancestral artifact fragments. Of course, there's also the Lydian spear, the ancestral artifact that wasn't willing to yield. The other side has the Wufeng broken sword, Zhuzhou's 3-legged cauldron, slab, human Dao ancestral artifact, giant spirit Dao ancestral artifact. Including the giant spirit Dao ancestral artifact is due to his promise to the old giant spirit to restore the presence of the giant spirit race in this world. Moreover, the old giant spirit is very powerful, and having the giant spirit race in the Edge Corner airspace would be a great asset. As for the human Dao ancestral artifact fragments, Xiang Beifei couldn't determine what they looked like, but they were also crucial. When trading, the post-risk of the trade must be taken into account. Having witnessed the strength of the complete Lydian spear at Common Valley, Xiang Beifei knew that if the Dao Palace got 3 complete ancestral artifacts, it would only strengthen them more, making them harder to deal with later. I just worry they refuse to trade. The human Dao artifact and giant spirit artifact don't seem like they would exchange these, Xiaohe said. The human race has always been the Dao Palace's major concern. Because the cultivation talent of the human race is generally extremely powerful. In the Edge Corner airspace's Heaven and Earth ranking, reaching Immortal Realm within 500 years, being on the Earth ranking within 1,000 years, and on the Heaven ranking within 3,000 years is considered extraordinarily talented. But the human race individuals are incredible. Not to mention Xiang Beifei himself, even Luo Shanyu and Fu Yuzi alone could easily outperform the Heaven and Earth ranking geniuses. Even more important, these 2 aren't even 500 years old. Yet their cultivation has already reached the Ascension realm. If any race could overthrow the Dao Palace, it would certainly be the human race. This is also why the Dao Palace aims to suppress and eradicate the human race, to prevent them from rising. So expecting them to trade the human Dao ancestral artifact is probably unlikely. As for the giant spirit race, it's almost the same. Not to mention their huge stature and thick skin and flesh. Just having the old giant spirit standing there is enough to give the Dao Palace a headache. They're not likely to hand over the giant spirit Dao ancestral artifact. Xiang Beifei weighed the bronze piece and half jade in his hand, pondering for a while and said, unless the ancestral artifact fragments we have are really important to them, or say, we offer a bigger chip. What bigger chips do we have? Era asked naively. We have the entire Common Valley's ancestral artifacts, Xiang Beifei said. Xiang Beifei was certain that the fragmented ancestral artifacts of Common Valley were definitely not in the hands of the Dao Palace, but were scattered in some corner of the Edge Corner airspace. Otherwise, the Dao Palace would have retrieved the ancestral artifacts long ago. What he needed to do was to go to Common Valley and use the Heavenly Dao map to identify those fragmented ancestral artifacts, find the whereabouts of the fragments, and then take all the ancestral artifacts from Common Valley. The more ancestral artifacts in hand, the stronger their position will be. When it comes time to negotiate, the Dao Palace will certainly weigh their options. Xiang Beifei didn't bother with the affairs of this void any longer. He was unlikely to be able to access it, so he made a mark nearby and then turned and left, heading to Common Valley. The way to reach Common Valley was not difficult. Xiang Beifei had been to Common Valley once already, so he knew how to sneak in again. Although Common Valley was guarded by the Dao Palace couldn't completely block off Common Valley like their main city because Common Valley was inherently strange, constantly moving. The way to enter Common Valley is through ancestral artifacts. As long as you have ancestral artifacts, you can enter. At this time, there were still various formations laid out by Dao Palace's ancestral Dao realm experts around Common Valley. Countless powerful divine senses occasionally swept by, but for Xiang Beifei this was not a serious issue. He used the heavenly Dao map and the camouflage of yin and yang energy to easily avoid detection and broke into Common Valley, even without causing a ripple. Yet even now, there were many ancestral Dao realm experts from the Dao Palace patrolling inside Common Valley, and the patrols seemed even stricter now. Last time after Common Valley opened, many species entered, resulting in several ancestral Dao realm experts like Wu Duankong mysteriously disappearing, and 2 ancestral artifacts were lost. So the Dao Palace strengthened their guard in Common Valley. This time Xiang Beifei wanted to quietly ambush these Dao Palace experts, which was a bit difficult, but his aim was not to kill them, but to find the ancestral artifacts. His first destination was to find that 1,000-meter-high ancestral blade. This was the first ancestral artifact he saw upon entering Common Valley. The long blade was still slashed into a towering mountain peak, splitting the mountain into 2 halves. Seeing this ancestral artifact again made Xiang Beifei deeply emotional. At that time, bricks and woofing clashed with the long blade, causing a massive stir. But because he couldn't subdue it, Xiang Beifei left. Now it was time to think of a way to retrieve the long blade. He landed on the mountaintop, took out the Heavenly Dao map, and approached the long blade. Although the Heavenly Dao map was also an ancestral artifact, when it approached, it didn't trigger any reaction from the long blade. Clearly, the Heavenly Dao map did not incite hostility with any ancestral artifact. Buzz! As expected, when the long blade ancestral artifact touched the Heavenly Dao map, it indeed reacted with its own ancestral artifact fragments. Xiang Beifei immediately made a mark on the Heavenly Dao map. He had already verified that the connection between the ancestral artifacts and their fragments would fade on the Heavenly Dao map after a period, but as long as they had touched before, he could reawaken this path. Very well. Let's go mark the next damaged ancestral artifact, Xiang Beifei said. He didn't linger but immediately flew to the next damaged ancestral artifact. Now he needed to quickly have the Heavenly Dao map mark all the fragmented ancestral artifacts, then search based on their distance. Now that Xiang Beifei had reached the ancestral Dao realm cultivation level, although Common Valley was filled with Dao Palacent ancestral Dao realm elders keeping watch, Xiang Beifei was no amateur. If he didn't want to be found, he wouldn't be found. He spent about 10 days carefully avoiding the Dao Palace's ancestral Dao realm experts and finally managed to touch all the ancestral artifacts in Common Valley. A total of 79 damaged ancestral artifacts. That's quite a lot. Era couldn't help but exclaim. Do you call this many? This is too few, okay? Xiaohe refuted. The Dao numbers in thousands, with billions of ancestral artifacts initially. Over the years, ancestral wars have been continuous, mutually devouring, and the ancestral artifacts outside Edge Corner airspace have all been collected by the Dao Palace. Now Common Valley only has 79 damaged ancestral artifacts left. Adding Xiang Beifei's ancestral artifacts and considering the Dao Palaces, there are only about 100 ancestral artifacts in this world. Do you think we can also find human Dao ancestral artifact fragments? Yumong asked. We probably can, but the issue is that the damaged human Dao ancestral artifacts are likely not in Common Valley, Xiang Beifei responded. Currently, he cannot determine the location of human Dao ancestral artifacts because he doesn't even know what the human Dao ancestral artifact fragments are. But Xiang Beifei didn't concern himself with that. After wandering through all of Common Valley and confirming there were no other omissions, he left Common Valley, guided by the markings of the Heavenly Dao map, searching for ancestral artifact fragments. A wave of excitement had arisen recently in the Edge Corner airspace. The appearance of the City of No Pretenses Dao Stones had caused all races to flock to it. Heavenly Dao is ruthless. The species shall rise. Which species shall rise? This had become the focal discussion in the Edge Corner airspace. The profundity of the Dao Stone's ethos perfectly aligns with the Dao embryo of all races. Many races firmly believe they are what the Dao Stone refers to, envisaging themselves as the strong species destined to replace the Tao Palace. Every race's cultivators, driven by fervor, see their own kind as the destined race, each striving to discern the 7 Tao stones, seeking the blessings of their ancestors. In fact, to argue about who the Tao stone points to, many top experts from various races often break out in conflicts at the slightest disagreement. Naturally, under such circumstances, all sorts of news about the truth of the Tao Palace begin to circulate in various cultivator markets. The Tao Palace, aiming to control Rushu City, laid a massive conspiracy, needing hundreds of thousands of cultivators as sacrifices to unseal the city. So, for tens of thousands of years, the Tao Palace deliberately attracted top experts of various races to Rushu City to die. The Tao Palace, to kill the human race, secretly captured countless Immortal Realm and Inquiry Tao Realm experts, and sent them to the Great Desolate Realm to commit suicide for the Tao Palace's ends. The Tao Palace, to acquire the ancestral artifact of Common Valley, deceived all cultivators into going there, essentially luring everyone to bring their artifact fragments into Common Valley, while they had long since laid out their schemes. The Tao Palace, in order to control Edgecorner airspace, plundered many races' ancestral artifacts and sealed the divine artifacts that could resist the void power, only allowing the breath soil to exist in Edgecorner airspace, forcing various races to use it as the circulating currency there. The reason the Tao Palace has issued a wanted order across Edgecorner airspace for the human race is due to their high talent, seen as a thorn by the Tao Palace, preventing their rise, thus finding excuses to annihilate the human race from Edgecorner airspace entirely. Countless bloody truths were made public, and these truths spread with evidence, revealing that over the years, the Tao Palace used various brutal methods to suppress the rise of many top experts from various races, secretly killing those who disobeyed. The truth enraged countless top experts from different races, who finally understood that their races had once had divine artifacts to resist the devouring void power, all suppressed by the Tao Palace. Especially after discovering the truth about the Tao Palace hunting the human race, they were even more shocked. The extinction of the human race may seem insignificant to these races, but thinking of their own race facing the same fate if they grew strong was intolerable, especially regarding the intent on the Tao Stone, which further fueled their hatred towards the Tao Palace. If we don't resist the evil rule of the Tao Palace today, we will be the next human race to be persecuted by them. The Tao Palace sees us as disposable pawns to dominate Edgecorner airspace. Would you rather be a pawn or a player? The true meaning of the Tao Stone has emerged. The Tao Palace is dead. Our race must rise. Calls resounded throughout the cities. The more the truth was known, the more indignant people became. More and more races began to resist the Tao Palace's rules, openly and covertly opposing them. The Tao Palace's orders no longer worked, with various undercurrents surging. At this moment, the Tao Palace naturally sensed the gradually rising rebellious forces. Initially, they paid no heed as many small group races were insignificant, with their highest power only at the immortal stage. How could they affect their status? But the situation changed within a month. 1 or 2 small races wanting to rebel was tolerable and could be suppressed, but as more races started rebelling, the Tao Palace had lost the people's support in Edgecorner airspace. This was a situation the Tao Palace would never allow. They began investigating the source of these truths, but to their fury, they found none, as if they appeared silently, backed by reason and evidence, leaving even their ancestral Tao realm experts helpless. The Tao Stone is the culprit. Wu Shipo, as an elder of the Tao Palace overseeing the situation in the city of No Pretense, realized the severity of the Tao Stone's existence. He too was comprehending the intent of the Tao Stone, but unlike other races, after their comprehension, they believed their race destined to rise. Yet, after his comprehension, Wu Shipo found that the protagonist in the latter half of the Tao Stone's message was not their Hutu tribe. Even after comprehending the Tao Stone, he pessimistically discovered that the decline of the Tao Palace was inevitable, and the race pointed to by the Tao Stone would replace their Hutu tribe's position. But the problem was, they still did not know which race the Tao Stone referred to, making them increasingly fearful. The Tao Stone must be sealed, preventing these lowly races from continuing to comprehend the Tao. Wu Shipo immediately decided, The source of all chaos began with the Tao Stone. But solving the Tao Stone was not an easy task. Because the city of No Pretense was a very dangerous place, its danger not even inferior to Common Valley. Everyone could linger outside the city of No Pretense, but no one dared enter, for its origins were extremely mysterious. Even ancestral Tao realm experts entering might not return. The Tao Palace had ancestral Tao realm experts who had experienced the might of the city of No Pretense. During the turmoil of Xin City's Litian Spear, Wu Yanwei pursued a mysterious expert, was transmitted to the city of No Pretense, and lost his life. Although Wu Yanwei was resurrected using an ancestral artifact, within 1,000 years, he remained a cripple and needed a millennium to fully recover. Thus, Wu Shipo could not possibly destroy the city of No Pretense. Outside the city of No Pretense, layers of cultivators surrounded it, tirelessly comprehending the Tao, sensing the 7 Tao stones, and their cultivation rapidly growing. Wu Shipo immediately unleashed his mighty power to seal off the entire area. Outside the city of No Pretense, the sky suddenly darkened, as if the entire city was shrouded in dark clouds, covering the 7 Tao stones. What's going on? Why can't we see the Tao stones? Who has taken over the Tao stones? Damn it! Who's hindering my comprehension? Countless people roared in anger, for comprehending the Tao was of critical importance to them, and they were interrupted at the crucial moment. However, they dared not enter the city of No Pretense, now known for its terrifying nature across Edge Corner airspace. Even if unwilling, no one dared to investigate first. Distantly, Wu Shipo, seeing the dark clouds shrouding the city of No Pretense, cutting off the race's comprehension, sighed in relief and coldly sneered. "Let's see how you comprehend now." Yet, as soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt something was amiss. Upon closer inspection, he found that the city of No Pretense had vanished from within the overwhelming power he unleashed, unexpectedly disappearing mysteriously. It hadn't been gone long, as people soon discovered that the city of No Pretense had reappeared on the other side, just a mere kilometer away. Over there. The city has reappeared. Everyone became excited, quickly moving towards the other side. This infuriated Wu Shipo. The city of No Pretense completely ignored his seal. "Let's see how many times you can dodge," Wu Shipo angrily roared, sealing towards the city of No Pretense again. But the city of No Pretense was like a slippery eel, impossible to seal. If it wanted to flee, it could come and go freely, and no one had managed to stop it yet. After Wu Shipo sealed the city of No Pretense 10 times, a message suddenly spread. These dark clouds are created by the Tao Palace, wanting to hinder all races from comprehending the Tao. The message spread with wings, reaching the ears of all races. The Tao Palace is indeed treacherous. They actually want to stop my comprehension, envious of my talent. It seems it's all true. The Tao Palace indeed has ghosts haunting their hearts, afraid I'm the chosen one to rise and threaten them. Those who block my race's rise, unforgivable. Wu Shipo's actions failed to stop them from comprehending the Tao, instead aggravating these race cultivators, who angrily condemned the Tao Palace's despicable acts, and their resolve to overthrow the Tao Palace grew ever stronger. Wu Shipo was again angered to the point of spitting blood. When had he ever suffered such indignation? He wanted to find out who spread these truths, but discovered there was no source to be found. As if an unseen force was fanning the flames, gradually pushing the Tao Palace to the enemy side of all races, making it a public enemy. The entire Edge Corner airspace has become unsettled due to the emergence of the 7 Tao stones, with upheavals breaking out in all the cities, and the rules set by the Tao Palace are no longer restraining everyone. Now, every race believes that they are the fated ones pointed out by the Tao stones, walking with their heads held high. Even if their current strength is not yet sufficient to confront the Tao Palace, they are no longer as respectful to its elders and are even full of provocation. 300 years east of the river, 300 years west. If nothing else. 3,000 years east of the river, 3,000 years west. When our clan's talents comprehend the Tao stones, that's when we will overthrow the Tao Palace. At this time, The Tao Palace is also devising strategies to suppress these restless races. But so far they have not even identified the instigator. Because the instigator is currently very busy. Damn it. So the ancestral artifact fragments of the broadsword are here. Haven't we passed by here before? Era asked wide-eyed. They were currently in the Great Desolate Realm. And it's also the place where the Tao stones were originally forged. Back then, before Xiang Beifei went to the Edgecorner airspace, he whimsically created a Tao stone, intending to establish a land of inheritance like the Bone Mountain and Desert Stone Cave, just out of sheer boredom. Era even made a proper Kylan drunk to fool those ghost whiskers. No one expected that the Tao stone fragment of the Long Knife ancestral artifact would actually be in their founding place, buried deep thousands of meters underground. All right, another ancestral artifact in hand. Xiang Beifei weighed the truncated knife handle, covered in gray, looking like a broken piece of wood, mixed with some black stone bones from the ground, without any special aura. Who would have imagined this to be a powerful ancestral artifact fragment? If not for the Heavenly Tao map, this piece of knife handle would likely never have seen the light of day again. The half piece of the knife handle wasn't large, only about 4 inches long, obviously unrelated to the 1,000-meter sword body in the Common Valley. Of course, ancestral artifacts are rather special. We've already found 59 ancestral artifact fragments. Xiaohe tallied the ancestral artifact fragments from the Spirit Gathering book. 5 of these fragments were found in the Great Desolate Realm, a few on the floating islands of the Edgecorner airspace, and some were even used by certain races as materials to build walls. Just yesterday, Xiang Beifei ventured into a nest of the insect Tao race, digging out a copper piece from their waste disposal sewer. This ancestral artifact fragment had apparently been discarded by some member of the insect Tao race, an utter waste. In the end, he sent Era to collect it. On to the next ancestral artifact fragment. Let's go. Xiang Beifei left the Great Desolate Realm, returning once again to the Edgecorner airspace, then immediately headed towards the next ancestral artifact fragment. They were flying in the void, but right after passing over a small town, Xiang Beifei suddenly noticed a strange fluctuation ahead, as if the void in front was screened by something, appearing extremely odd. This void seems strange. Xiang Beifei stared ahead. The void looked like it had a fault, covered by extremely strong means, and such a fault could not be discovered without ancestral Tao realm cultivation. That ancestral artifact fragment is here too. Xiaohe looked ahead in confusion, then down at the Heavenly Tao map in his hand, which indicated the same direction as the spiritual power fluctuation. Let's go check it out. Xiang Beifei flew toward the front. There were 2 shadows facing off in the void ahead. One of them was stout and sturdy, with a big round belly, thick arms, wearing a robe like scales, but strangely, his face was extremely handsome and thin, completely out of place with his body. Practitioner, Tunshin, Tao Embryo, Swine Tao Race, Realm, Late Ascension Tao, a peerless master of the Swine Tao race, renowned on the heaven and earth ranking thousands of years ago, though rarely heard of in the Edgecorner airspace now. He is undoubtedly a very powerful master. It is rumored that the Swine Tao race relies on eating to cultivate with a huge appetite, making everything in the world their food, and they can draw various abilities from food, absorbing them as their own. Tunshin, you are bold to disrespect me. Opposite Tunshin was a stunning woman, her beauty rivaling the legendary beauties, clad in a light long dress that fluttered, graceful like a rainbow. Even though her expression was angry, she was still breathtakingly beautiful. Practitioner, Wu Banlu, Tao Embryo, Hutu Tribe, Realm, Early Ascension Tao. Wu Banlu, ranked 3rd on the heavenly ranking. As a genius of the Hutu tribe, little is known about her in the Edgecorner airspace, but it is rumored that she reached immortality in 200 years, understood the Tao in 400, and now at 500 years old, she is already in the Early Ascension Tao stage. Such age and cultivation make her a genius among geniuses. Disrespect you? Ha ha ha. I wouldn't dare. I just want to taste the lady's flesh. Tunshin stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. His gaze at Wu Banlu was full of various lights. The Swine Tao race, to put it bluntly, is essentially pigs. However, The cultivators of this race carry the ancient mythological beast Gluttonous bloodline. The Gluttonous Dao, alongside the Divine Dragon and Phoenix Dao, are all first-rate ancestral Dao. Do you truly not know who I am? Aren't you afraid that if you lay a hand on me, your entire Swine Dao race will be annihilated? Wu Banlu was furious beyond measure. As an absolute genius on the heavenly ranking, she was always the center of attention wherever she went, and no one dared to disrespect her. But now she was being teased by a pig. How could she possibly endure this? Just see if you can actually leave here, sneered Tunshin. Wu Banlu surveyed her surroundings. This patch of void seemed twisted, and she wanted to call for help, but no matter how she deployed her abilities, she couldn't escape from it. Stop struggling. This void has already been devoured by me. You can't get out. Did you really think I wasn't prepared? Tunshin snickered coldly. He had now cultivated to the late stage of ascending Dao, just one step away from entering the ancestral Dao realm. When someone from the Swine Dao race reaches the ancestral Dao realm, they transform into the Gluttonous Dao. The Dao embryo undergoes earth-shaking changes, akin to a leap to godhood. But unfortunately, despite his devouring path, he reached only the late ascending Dao stage, just shy of the ancestral Dao realm, frustratingly unable to break through that barrier. When the 7 Dao stones appeared and caused a sensation, he initially intended to scrutinize them skeptically but ended up gaining greatly from them, making the ancestral Dao realm within reach. He realized he needed to devour a talent defying the heavens to possibly break through to the ancestral Dao, leading him to set his sights on Wu Banlu, ranked second on the heavenly ranking. This woman's talent was astonishing, reaching the early ascending Dao stage by the age of 500, and potentially advancing to the ancestral Dao realm within 1,000 years. Such extraordinary talent, if consumed and refined, could significantly empower him. To intercept Wu Banlu, he had made numerous preparations recently. She had just exited seclusion and was here to guard her ranking. Theoretically, such a genius guarding the ranking would surely attract much attention. However, unluckily, the recent emergence of 7 Dao stones and the significance of the Rise of the Race event had far surpassed the guarding of the heavenly ranking. Despite Wu Banlu's strength and outstanding talent, she belonged to the Hutu tribe of the Dao Palace. In this era where all races are preparing to rise, even the second-ranked Wu Banlu aroused little interest, as everyone believed their race was destined to rise and overthrow the Dao Palace. Therefore, what matter is a mere second-ranked on the heavenly ranking. As long as they swiftly comprehend the essence of the Dao stones, rising is not a dream. This made Wu Banlu's presence to guard her ranking awkward, lacking attention from geniuses busy comprehending the Dao stones. She was merely going through the motions. But this opportunity was seized by the cunning old fox, Tunshin. Tunshin's ability was immensely powerful, even able to temporarily devour a void. Now this void was under his confinement. Wu Banlu's face grew increasingly grim. She had already tried breaking this void's constraints but couldn't, as Tunshin was well prepared, his strength and cultivation exceeding hers by a margin. Be my appetizer obediently. Tunshin rushed towards Wu Banlu swiftly, avoiding any delay. As he flew, his entire form began to change, revealing his true body. It was a mighty beast covered in sturdy scales, with 2 long horns on its head, glowing yellow, with 2 clusters of crimson hair on top, floating like threads of blood. The most striking feature was its massive mouth, occupying more than 3/4 of its head, squeezing its eyes and nose into a clump. Inside its bloody mouth were long fangs, and beneath them numerous dense suction cups. Once bitten, virtually all spiritual power and flesh essence would be devoured. Tunshin had evidently set one foot into the ancestral Dao realm, transforming into his true form, no longer a mere pig, evolving toward the fearsome image of a glutton. Whoosh! 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 Tunshin sprinted forward, closing in on Wu Banlu. However, Wu Banlu wasn't weak. Her body glowed with powerful dust, spreading rapidly around her. The boundary is shoreless. As Tunshin approached, the dust-covered area seemed expansively extended, as Wu Banlu's surroundings continued to stretch regardless of how Tunshin tried to close in. Boom! Wu Banlu suddenly struck forward, her breath soil dust coalescing into a giant palm, charged with immense power, reaching Tunshin in an instant. Buzz! Buzz! The giant palm split, forming countless palms pressing down on Tunshin from all directions, twisting the space. Being ranked second on the heavenly ranking, Wu Banlu's strength was undeniable. Though at the early ascending Dao stage, she could contend effectively with someone at the mid-stage. However, Tunshin was a monstrous old being over 10,000 years old, far exceeding the strength of experts from the heaven and earth ranking. As Wu Banlu's breath-soiled giant palms fell, the scales on Tunshin's body suddenly emitted a red glow. Upon closer examination, each of his scales had a mouth bursting with sharp teeth. Click, click, click. As innumerable breath-soiled giant palms fell, the mouths on those scales continuously opened and shut, swallowing all the breath-soiled giant palms in the air. Beast! Wu Banlu's eyes showed a trace of disdain. Tunshin had developed half-step abilities of the gluttonous heavenly Dao. Legend has it, a glutton devours heaven, earth, even air, with nothing beyond its consumption. The most terrifying fact was, Tunshin's power far exceeded hers. Besides, Wu Banlu also attempted all sorts of escape methods, but Tunshin had devoured this entire void. Indeed, as one of the Dao Palace's youngest geniuses, Wu Banlu was invincible at the same stage, possessing multiple survival abilities, but lacked ancestral artifacts for protection as they could only be fully wielded by an ancestral Dao realm expert. Tunshin's half-step ancestral Dao realm was beyond her capacity to confront. Obediently become my meal. So pretty, should taste delightful. Tunshin's gaze greedily scanned Wu Banlu's body. Countlessly so, looking very disgusting.
Tuntian, remember this.
I'm impossible to kill, but your swine Dao race has committed genocide and will face the same fate as the human race, completely erased from the Edge Corner airspace. Wu Banlu shouted angrily. Tunshin no longer intended to give Wu Banlu an escape chance. Pressing on to devour all breath-soil power Wu Banlu conjured. Suddenly, a powerful yellow light erupted from Wu Banlu, mingled with blood-colored glow. Her spiritual power rapidly surging, expanding continually. She intended to self-destruct. Wu Banlu knew well she wasn't Tunshin's match today, yet couldn't swallow her cultivation being devoured by this pig, thus choosing self-destruction to end her life. With Resurrection Heavenly Way existing, even upon self-destructive death, the Huta tribe would revitalize. Though costly, it's her final dignity as a heavenly girl. Yet suddenly, a beam darted out from the void, integrating with that luminescence, forcibly suppressing Wu Banlu's surging spiritual power. What's happening? Wu Banlu was deeply shocked, never imagining her expanding spiritual power being forcefully repressed. She turned to see a refined young man standing in the void. He was an expert, moreover, judging by his aura, an ancestral Dao realm master. Wu Banlu's surprise turned into delight. Seeing a savior, she quickly called out, "Senior! I am Wu Banlu of the Dao Palace's Huta tribe. Should Senior rescue me, the Dao Palace will surely treat you and your race as esteemed guests." Though unfamiliar with the young man, she could only rely on her backing now. Customarily, anyone hearing Wu Banlu's name would respond most politely. Even if unfamiliar, the Dao Palace's reputation was distinguished. Tunshin obviously didn't expect a master to suddenly appear at this moment, and moreover, break into the void he had devoured, without him realizing. Bear in mind, this void had been temporarily swallowed into his belly. Even those in the ancestral Dao realm might not detect it. He had done his homework thoroughly for this ambush on Wu Banlu, choosing an exceptionally remote place. But unexpectedly, he was still discovered. This person appearing so quietly before him could only mean one thing. This guy is strong. Even stronger than him. This made Tunshin's heart skip half a beat. Who is he? Could it be an ancestral Dao realm expert from the Dao Palace? If so, then he's definitely in over his head, because he has kidnapped the Dao Palace's favored daughter. In the past, even with 10,000 guts, he wouldn't dare target Wu Banlu, but since realizing the Dao Stone, he no longer regards the Dao Palace seriously. Initially, He planned to silently devour her to enhance his power. But now, with this person intervening, he feels something is very wrong. Who are you? Tunshin stared intensely at the young man before him. He was already a bit panicked inside. If not handled well, he feared he might meet his end here today. Me? I'm just passing by, Xiang Beifei said calmly. Passing by. Many thoughts flashed through Tunshin's mind, involuntarily making him more anxious. Such a powerful master passing by casually, and appearing right when he was about to swallow Wu Banlu, was definitely here to rescue her. Wu Banlu's thoughts were the same as Tunshin's. When she saw Xiang Beifei stopping her from self-destructing, she breathed a sigh of relief, her demeanor becoming coldly proud once more. It was evident that this young man recognized her noble status as the holy maiden of the Dao Palace, intending to rescue her and form a good relationship with the Dao Palace. This person must seek the Dao Palace's favor. That's why he's helping me. But at least you have some sense. You may be an ancestral Dao realm expert, but you still have to give me some respect. Wu Banlu couldn't help but snort softly in her heart. She has always looked down on other races, even if the other party is an ancestral Dao realm expert. Currently, in the Edge Corner airspace, her Huta tribe reigns supreme, and as one of the top talents among the Huta tribe, entering the ancestral Dao realm is just a matter of time for her. In her eyes, other races' ancestral Dao realm experts are nothing. But since the other party is helping, she naturally must express some gratitude. Esteemed senior, the Swine Dao race's Tunshin ambushed me without cause, attempting to devour my soul, which violates the Dao Palace's laws. Please assist me in capturing this criminal. I will surely report this to the Earth God in the future and satisfy any of your requests. Wu Banlu immediately moved towards Xiang Beifei. Tunshin watched Wu Banlu guardedly, then glanced at Xiang Beifei. He wasn't sure whether to attack or not. Xiang Beifei stood there, appearing to have no spiritual power fluctuation at all, like an ordinary person, but he dared not underestimate him. Xiang Beifei looked thoughtfully at Wu Banlu and said, "Someone from the Dao Palace, huh?" Wu Banlu immediately replied, "Yes, I am Wu Banlu, currently second on the heavenly ranking, from the Dao Palace. Please, senior, understand clearly." Xiang Beifei looked Wu Banlu up and down, nodded slightly, and then said, "All right, I won't disturb you. Continue." "Thank you, senior." Wu Banlu was about to express her gratitude, but quickly realized something was off, and lifted her head in astonishment. What do you mean by this, senior?" But Xiang Beifei had already casually walked away, like a spectator, nonchalantly saying, "Hey, big fat pig, finish the fight quickly. Afterward, I have something else to discuss with you." Ha! Tunshin, being called big fat pig, wasn't angry. After all, their real form was indeed a pig, and a very stout one at that, so it wasn't really an insult. But he was somewhat bewildered. This guy, he's not here to save Wu Banlu? Then why did he stop her just now? The originally decisive Tunshin was also confused by Xiang Beifei's actions. Should he attack now? Hurry up. I don't have all day, Xiang Beifei urged impatiently. Tunshin was decisive, and despite having concerns, he knew time was of the essence. Immediately, he exploded with powerful energy, and every scale on his body opened its ferocious mouths lined with sharp teeth, biting towards Wu Banlu again. Wu Banlu was greatly shocked, shouting at Xiang Beifei, "You vile bastard, you're in cahoots with him." Her anger and fear were piling up inside her, making her face twisted. Her gaze towards Xiang Beifei was filled with hatred, as if Xiang Beifei was the real culprit who wanted her dead. Compared to him, she hated Tunshin less. "Remember, if you don't save me today, I will definitely annihilate your whole tribe when I return." Wu Banlu screamed furiously at Xiang Beifei, but Xiang Beifei's response was simple. "Idiot! You!" Wu Banlu almost choked with anger, but this time she couldn't dodge. Behind Tunshin appeared a gluttonous shadow, biting down on her. She felt that the void was filled with unstoppable bloody mouths. Just as she wanted to dodge, there was a cracking sound, Wu Banlu's head was suddenly bitten off, along with her soul, swallowed into Tunshin's belly. The second-ranked master on the heavenly ranking, Wu Banlu, perished. What a pity. This Wu Banlu was quite attractive. If I had known Feifei didn't want her, I would have taken her. Era muttered. What are you doing here? Yumong asked with curiosity. I watched a little movie in Jojo last time, where men and women fought over a quilt. I've always wanted to try it. Era chuckled. Yumong rolled his eyes. After Tunshin swallowed Wu Banlu whole, he didn't rush to refine her. Instead, he watched Xiang Beifei warily and said in a deep voice, Fellow Taoist, what are you intending? Don't you know that if you kill her, she'll still resurrect at her home? Xiang Beifei said. Tunshin was shocked. Is that really possible? You really underestimate the life-saving methods of the Tao Palace. Xiang Beifei said indifferently. Tunshin's expression immediately became uncertain. He never dared to have any improper thoughts about the people of the Tao Palace before, so how would he know about resurrection? If they can resurrect at home, then their swine Tao race would be in danger, definitely becoming the next race exterminated by the Tao Palace. Thinking of this, Tunshin broke into a cold sweat. Don't worry, I've already ensured she can't resurrect, Xiang Beifei said again. Tunshin realized and asked in surprise, Did you intervene just now to stop her resurrection? No kidding. The reason Xiang Beifei didn't allow Wu Banlu to self-destruct was to brand a Yinyang brand in her body, ensuring her complete demise. The Hutu tribe had persecuted countless members of the human race, using them as sacrifices, slaughtering them in various ways. In his eyes, anyone from the Hutu tribe deserved death. Even a stunningly talented woman was no exception. Those who deserve to die must die. But I don't understand why you're helping me, Tunshin asked. We have a common enemy, Xiang Beifei said. Tunshin frowned, pondering who he and Xiang Beifei's common enemy could be. All right, I won't waste words with you. You swallowed something of mine. I need to get it back, Xiang Beifei said. What did I swallow of yours? Tunshin asked in a deep voice. It's that thing in your stomach that you can't digest, Xiang Beifei said. How do you know? Tunshin asked in shock. I know everything, Xiang Beifei said calmly. Tunshin, a very gluttonous cultivator, his Tao embryo derived from the gluttonous, would eat anything to digest it for his own use. But among the many things he swallowed, there was one thing he never digested. Even after 1,000 years, it remained in his stomach. It was an unremarkable piece of broken wood that had no spiritual power, yet it withstood his gluttonous stomach's digestion. Even when his strength had reached the threshold of the ancestral Tao realm, he still couldn't digest this piece of broken wood. This wood was something he swallowed during a fight with other masters, along with all their belongings. Since it hadn't digested after so long, he believed it to be a sacred object and kept it in his stomach. No one knew who could have thought someone would speak of his secret today. Who exactly are you? Tunshin asked cautiously. But Xiang Beifei didn't want to explain, simply saying, Spit it out. Tunshin looked into Xiang Beifei's eyes, and in that clear gaze, black and white glimmers seemed to flash. Suddenly, his whole spirit scattered, and Xiang Beifei's voice echoed in his mind like a sacred command that he couldn't resist. He involuntarily opened his mouth, and a piece of blackened broken wood emerged, floating in the void. Ancestral artifact fragment. That's disgusting. Xiaohe ran over, using spiritual power to condense a high-pressure water jet to thoroughly clean the piece of wood, followed by high heat to bake it, peeling off everything not belonging to the wood. There was no concern of burning anything, as the ancestral artifact fragment was robust enough to withstand such cleaning. Tunshin's perception of Xiang Beifei completely changed. Xiang Beifei's voice, filled with powerful intent, still resonated in his mind. When Xiang Beifei said, "Spit it out," it was like hearing celestial music, enlightening his mind. Then he realized something, exclaiming, You're the maker of the Tao Stone. Oh, smarter than I thought. Xiang Beifei collected the ancestral artifact fragment. Ancestral in heaven, descendant of the Swine Dao race, Tunchen greets the ancestral. Tunchen suddenly and excitedly kneeled before Xiang Beifei, showing the utmost respect. Ancestral? What the hell? I'm not your ancestor. Xiang Beifei's forehead lined with 3 vertical lines, almost kicking this pig away. Xiaohe giggled. Feifei is the ancestor of pigs. Shut up, Xiang Beifei said, clearly annoyed. He glanced disdainfully at Tunchen kneeling in front of him, not hiding his contempt. But Tunchen, upon seeing Xiang Beifei, was very excited, his face full of respect, not daring to take a breath. After comprehending the 7 Dao stones, he was convinced the Dao stone perfectly aligned with the Swine Dao race, making him firmly believe the owner of the Dao stone was the ancestor of his race. The heavenly Dao is ruthless. It is time for the gluttonous tribe to rise. Now, the legendary ancestor appeared before him. How could he not be excited? Perhaps the senior was the legendary divine beast Gluttonous. Tunchen dared not act rashly. Xiang Beifei resisted the urge to kick this pig and pondered a moment. Tell me how you interpret the intent of the Dao stone? To the ancestor. Call me sir, your current Dao doesn't deserve my, recognition. Xiang Beifei corrected him. Yes. I'm sorry for the offense. Tunchen quivered, reprimanded by Xiang Beifei, without any complaints. The Dao embryo cultivated by the person before him was several levels higher than his own. As a mere Swine Dao race member, who hadn't even exalted his Dao embryo, he certainly couldn't aim that high. To the sir. Through comprehending the Dao recently, I'm almost certain there should be 8 Dao stones. So, in your opinion, what's the missing character? Xiang Beifei asked, his expression unchanged. The heavenly Dao is ruthless. Our race should rise. Tunchen confidently said. The missing character is our. In my understanding, the heavenly Dao is the force governing everything. In the edge corner airspace, the only thing in control is the Dao Palace. So, the heavenly Dao is ruthless, our race should rise, should mean the Dao Palace is unjust, having lost the people's support, signifying our race's time to rise. Every time Tunchen thought of the intent of those 7 Dao stones, he'd feel an overwhelming heroism surge in his chest, and a passionate resolve to overthrow the Dao Palace and establish themselves burned within him. Huh? Is that how it's understood? Xiang Beifei was somewhat surprised himself. In fact, when he wrote that phrase, it was purely on a whim, with the first character Dao just to create a cool cave to play with. Everything else was added on a whim. As for what precisely the heavenly Dao is ruthless meant, Xiang Beifei didn't think it over. He merely felt those 4 words sounded impressive. Unexpectedly, Tunchen would interpret it this way. Is this the legendary interpretation of literature? Love it. But in reality, if Xiang Beifei had to explain the heavenly Dao is ruthless, it would mean that the heavenly Dao shows no mercy to all things, meaning the heavenly Dao treats everything equally. The Dao that any race cultivates is essentially an extension of the heavenly Dao. Normally, the heavenly Dao wouldn't favor any race. As for the latter half, it naturally signifies the rise of the human race, breaking convention, becoming the darling of the heavenly Dao. However, it didn't really matter. Different people comprehend the Dao differently. Besides, others could interpret it however they liked. He wasn't very concerned. You have some understanding, Xiang Beifei said. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment, sir. Tunchen was overwhelmed with joy, quickly bowing again. He had been praised by the owner of the Dao stone. This meant his comprehended Dao intent was correct in the eyes of this gentleman. What an honor this was! Tunchen trembled with excitement.